Be off.
So your name,
Yeah, it should be off.
logic, and reason. Okay, I'm gonna just call you CLR, just for short.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so I got Focus on the line, and we were talking about Black issues and where they stem from, and we were also dealing with accountability. Some things that we contribute to that doesn't help our situation, but we also was talking about other things that's out of our situation that's contributing to our current state, which is not the best. And I told him about you. He said, "Hey man, invite him more. You want to hear some of your views on just that, if you don't mind." So he go by Focus. So we got CLR, we got Focus.
How you doing, brothers? Good morning.
What's going on, man?
All right.
Yeah. Right. As I told him the last time we spoke, I'm a firm believer in that although America treated Black folks bad in the past, that's in the past. We can't do anything about the past. We got to move forward, and there's nothing more about the past that we should be focused on. Because right now, there's nothing that a Black person cannot do achieve in America. So focusing on the past is only handicapping us. And really, truly, the only real impact that the past has on us is that we keep brainwashing ourselves. We keep brainwashing the later generation to focus on. As I spoke to him, he talked about last time, he talked about the Homestead Act. And I'm like, there's no Black person today that's being held back by the Homestead Act. So why we keep bringing it up? I mean, at the very latest, I mean, the Homestead Act ended in 76? And you had to be at least 21 years of age. So you had to be 70 to even take advantage of that. How many Black people alive today are over the age of 70 and older? Not many. So why are we worrying about the past? We got to move forward. We move forward to the future. And it's not like we don't have examples, because I told him last time, look at what Asian people outperform white people in just about every metric in society. So how about we look at what they're doing and we mimic it, and mimic what they're doing. It's not like you can't. So I just simply said we got to stop focusing on the past, and we got to move forward. And that's pretty much my view. I mean, the overall view, nothing specific.
Okay, so my question to you would be, can you tell me one people on the planet, one culture on the planet, one a nation on the planet that does not recognize and does not study and does not learn, if you will, from the atrocities of the past to incorporate it into their present movements to chart out a path for the future? Can you name me one?
Well, I can't think of anyone. I wouldn't say forget the past, because the past is important to learn from the past. My second question would be, since nobody on the entire planet negates their past to understand their present and to chart out a path for their future, why are Black people being held to that standard alone? You mean the standard of looking at the past?
No, of understanding the past, okay. of using the lessons, if you will, of the past, or understanding the atrocity of the past to properly understand the current position that their people are in, thereby charting out a path towards the future for their people. There's nobody on the planet that does that, except Black people who are being charged with somehow forgetting what we went through and not being able to acknowledge what we went through to understand why we're in the position that we're in now. You talked about the Housing Act, for example, and it's one of my favorite points to go to when I deal with people who, want to conveniently negate the past. The Housing Act, and you said that doesn't affect anybody today. Well, let's look at the Housing Act. Let's look at FDR's Housing Act. For roughly 34 years, hundreds of millions of home loans were given to white people only. Black people weren't allowed to partake in these home loans. They weren't allowed to inherit these home loans. homes weren't allowed to be bequeathed upon them. Now, those hundreds of millions of home loans built what we call equity, right? And with that equity, these white people were allowed to pay medical bills. They were allowed to send their kids to college. They were allowed to partake in the natural, inflation, right, of the cost of living. For example, in that 30s, when they first got the home, it may have been worth $5,000 to $10,000, and that same home is worth $500,000 to $5 million now. So that singular act, a racist, illegal, immoral act that removed the Black people from attaining wealth via real estate in this country, still directly affects us today, because we are disproportionately not living in those affluent neighborhoods, which also those neighborhoods, based upon where you live, is based upon the quality of your schooling, right? Based upon where you live is the quality of your property, the quality of the town's wealth, and what they can reinvest within the people of the town, right? So we now have been placed at a severe disadvantage just upon that Housing Act. And the Housing Act is not like it was 2 million years ago. You're talking about it ended 60 years ago, but by this time, segregation and this huge wealth gap and disparity was already placed firmly in society. So now we had barely one generation from that. My grandmother or someone's grandmother gave it to their father. Maybe 2 generations father gave it to me, but a lot of them people still alive, right? The fathers and even the grandparents in some regards. So what you have is a whole host of young children inheriting houses, inheriting money, inheriting the fruits of this illegal, racist, immoral act, and basically being placed in the forefront of society when Black people cannot participate or benefit from that, right? And that's just one aspect, right? And you deal with that. Because during this same Housing Act, or as a result, I should say, of the same Housing Act, when you created your suburbs, you also effectively created your hoods and your ghettos, okay? Now, these hoods and these ghettos were then not only drugs pumped in these communities, these communities were over-policed. It's still over-policed to today, right?
Okay. Based off of what? Over-policed based off of what? Are you saying that there's more police officers policing them? Because you're going on long. You see, by over-policing, do you mean that there's more police in the Black community than in the white community? What do you mean by over-policing?
That's what I mean.
Well,
I mean that.
Okay. Well, if that's where the crime is, that's where you allocate your resources to. When you allocate your resources to where the crime is, I mean, if you have resources to stop crime, and high crime rates over here and less crime rates over there, you put your assets over here where the crime rates are. Okay, but that's irrelevant because you don't have to commit any crime. It doesn't matter how many police in your community.
Don't commit crime. So white people don't commit crime.
At the same rate as Black people? No, not even remotely.
Okay, well, how would you know that? How would you know that if their communities are under police, therefore their crimes are underreported?
Well, how are they underreported if there's no call for report?
They're under police and they're underreported.
Okay, so underreported based off of what? Under police doesn't mean unreported though. Because just because you have less police officers, don't mean you can't call and report a crime.
I'll give you an example. Drug use, okay? Drug use permeates the white community. They're doing cocaine, they're doing all types of illicit drugs, acid, LSD, dope, opioids, all of this type of stuff, okay? All throughout the white community, okay? But if it's under policed, then that means the crimes are underreported and the drug users are under arrested because you're under policing those communities. While you send all of the police to our communities, over police them, and then as a result, lock a lot more people up in the Black community. So then you will.
But that's
let me finish real quick, and then I'm gonna let you speak.
You got to close it up.
Let me finish real quick, and then I'm gonna let you speak. So then now what you will have is this fake belief, if you will, that all the crime is happening in the Black community because that's where you send your police. So therefore, that's the only crime you are trying to find. But the crime that exists in the white communities are flying under the radar. And now people like yourself believe that white people do no harm and it's only the niggas. But go ahead, you talk.
Okay, first of all, as I said, just because you don't have as many cops there doesn't mean that the crimes are not being reported. People still report crimes regardless of how many cops that are there. Second of all, as far as these white people are using, all these drugs, and Black folks use drugs too. Now, I just said I spoke to Roy last time. I was explaining to him exactly how when you hear Black people say white people use drugs at the same rate which Black people do, but the Black folks arrested at a higher rate, that's not true. And I explained to him that the way they got that from was based off of surveys at a drug treatment rehab center. They would ask people, have you used drugs in the last 30 days, 60 days, and so on and so forth. And according to those surveys, that's what the studies were based off. The problem is that you can't trust a survey because anybody can say anything on a survey. A survey is not scientific. And here's the thing, that when those surveys were backed up by actual drug tests, the drug tests, which are scientific, show that Black people was several times more likely to have lied, like 3 times more likely to have lied. So if Black folks are more likely to have lied on those surveys, then when they explain the discrepancy in the rest, regardless, though, why wouldn't? If Black people were several times more likely to lie on the surveys that people use to say that white people use drugs as much as Black people do, when they created discrepancy just based off the surveys, and I take into account that Black folks are more likely to have lied.
Okay, so you're saying that the surveys that you just said don't really have too much credibility now have credibility because
I said the drug test. The drug test showed that Black folks are more likely to have lied. Drug test.
So the surveys are backed up by drug tests.
Well, when the surveys were backed up by drug tests, it showed that Black people were several times more likely to have lied.
Okay, and where were these surveys conducted?
In drug treatment rehab centers.
Drug treatment rehab centers. So
yeah, that's why they get these studies that show that white people use drugs at the same rate as Black people. Remember when you ever hear?
Let me just get clarification. So in drug rehab centers, drug addicts were asked questions about whether they did drugs or not.
Yes.
And okay. And then once the drug tests were back, the drug tests were used, it came out that Black people were lying about their drug tests, their drug use, more than white people were lying.
Yes, the drug test showed that Black people was so like 3 times more likely to have lied.
But they were all done in drug rehab centers, right?
Well, drug rehab centers and different things like that. Yeah, drug treatment centers.
Okay,
that's where they get the data.
It's safe for us to deduce that all those people were on drugs, right?
Well, when people say that they were there for drugs, but when they did a drug test and the drug test showed that people had drugs in their system, that Black people were likely to have lied. Wherever they conducted the test, it was basically when they say that white people use drugs at the same rate as Black people, it was based off of surveys.
Okay, so now I need you to correlate for me how drug addicts in drug rehab centers lying about whether they did drugs in the last 30 days has more of an effect on the crime being reported or underreported based upon policing, over-policing, or under-policing certain communities? Because I don't see the correlation there.
Say it again. You want to know what the
Yeah, because what we're talking about at the moment is over-policing and under-policing certain communities, therefore over-reporting and under-reporting certain crimes, therefore the numbers being skewed based upon an intense focus on certain subsets of the society. I don't know how you translate drug addicts lying in drug rehab centers, okay, to the point that I'm making about over or under-reporting police and over and under-reporting crimes.
Okay, so you're saying, are you saying that the system purposely put the police officers in the Black community, or perhaps maybe they put the police officers there because that's where they're seeing the high crime rates up?
No, sir. What I'm telling you is that once the FDR's Housing Act properly segregated society from white community to Black community, they were able to ill affect certain subsets of society directly.
Okay, so that made them use drugs?
Hold on. Through
that made them use drugs?
Policies, programs, rules, and laws, one of which being the intense militarization of the police, over-policing Black communities, the criminalization of Black people, okay, and the privatizations of the prison industrial complex, where they wanted you to feel disproportionately. So they were able to create programs, laws, rules, and policies based upon the segregation that was created through the Housing Act. Now, once they have
these things cause Black people to commit crime. As I said, it doesn't matter how many police in your community, if you're not committing crime, you won't be arrested. You still have to go out here and commit crime. And you cannot tell me that white people are committing the same petty street crimes that we see happening in the hood, bro. If you to say that is to be ridiculous.
First of all, white people commit crimes of their own. That's first of all. Second of all,
but not the same rate as what Black people are.
Second of all, that's not true. Second, because at the end of the day, as I said, well, you wouldn't know that because crime in the white community is underreported. They act as though crime is not crime.
Underreported based off of what?
Hold on.
How is it underreported?
How would you know it's underreported? Okay.
How would you know it's underreported?
You said
How
what?
would you know it's underreported? How would you know it's underreported? So you're telling me that white people, when things happen to white people, they don't call the cops?
No, sir, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what be underreported.
Simple, because it's under police. If it's under police,
but under policing doesn't mean yet you don't report crimes, though. You're saying that if something happens to a white person, they don't call the cops and report something?
Sir, what I'm saying to you is this. If you have a system where you target certain communities, you profile certain communities, you disproportionately pull over certain communities, you look for crime in certain communities, then you will disproportionately find it there. So if you flood the Black community,
but what I'm saying is,
if you flood the Black community with an overt amount of police officers purposely looking for things, then you'll find them a lot more than if you under police other communities. Now, something Malcolm X said. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go.
So you're saying that they put these police officers in a Black community just to find crimes, or perhaps maybe because they put them there because the crime rates were higher there. Again, if you want to address crime and they have crime, the crime rate is high over there. Isn't that where you're going to put crime at? Isn't that where you're going to put?
Then why is the crime rate still higher?
What crime rate still higher?
If you put all the police in that area, the crime rate should be lower since that's where all the police are at. But the crime rate is still higher. So why is it still higher if you put all the police there?
Because people are committing the crime. You have to change the mentality of the people. You have to change the mentality of the people.
So it's not working. So you put all the
we change the mentality of the people. You have to change the mentality of the people.
It's still abnormally high. The crime rate is still abnormally high.
Because the people are committing high crime rates.
No, because that's what you're looking for. Everybody commits crimes. There's crimes committed in every subset and community in America and in the world.
Yes, but at what rates? At what rates? Black folks are doing it at high rates.
That's not true.
How is it not true?
That's not true. That's not true.
How is it not true? Bro, if somebody commits a crime and you report it, it gets reported, bro. If the problem is that's way more. Matter of fact, here's a stat that I heard that black women can call 911 more than anybody. Now, is that true?
We'd have to. I haven't read that stat. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you get that. You saw stuff on that one.
All I know is this here. I never heard nobody say, don't go in that part of town because there's white people there. Most of the time when people say you don't go to a part of town at night, is in the hood somewhere where black people are. Most of the killings, there are more blacks killed by the hands of other blacks than pretty much at a high rate than any other races.
Sir, there's plenty of white communities that black people are scared to go into at night that are full white, okay? Because the KKK resides there.
Right, the KKK resides there. Right, the KKK
let me finish.
It's a joke, right? That's not the KKK is shit.
The racists reside there. Excuse me, sir. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Growing up, we were scared to ride through the white communities. We weren't scared to ride through the black communities. We were scared to ride through white communities. Because why? Because if a white cop seen you, they're liable to pull you over. They're liable to harass you. They're liable to try to disaffect your life negatively. Okay?
Okay, how old are you then? Well, how old are you?
Let me finish. I'm 40 years old, sir.
Okay, so growing up, all I know is growing up, I'm 51. Growing up, I ain't never had no problem going in the white side community. And I never heard anybody put any issue of the white community. Always the black community.
That may be fine in your anecdotal experience. But what I'm telling you is...
Well, that's your anecdotal experience.
Hold on, sir. What I'm telling you is there's white communities that black people are scared to go into as well. See, but when you don't frame it the same, when you act as though the only communities you should be scared to go in is the black communities, because that's where all of the scary people are at. And you
all I know is I never had fear going in any white community.
Sir,
the average black person in America does have no fear going into the white community. It's the hood. Wrong niggas. It's wrong niggas. Wrong niggas. Ain't nobody no white folks. So that's a bunch of bullshit what you're saying right now. Go ahead.
Sir, let me finish,
bullshit
Uncle
now.
Tom, sir. Because
you talking straight bullshit now. Goddamn way, no black person.
And you being
Uncle Tom means nothing. Uncle Tom means nothing. It's just another ridiculous leftist phrase. That's all it is. Another leftist.
I'm trying to have a cordial conversation with you.
Go ahead, because you're talking nonsense.
I'm trying to have a cordial conversation with you. Now, it is pure illusion that the only communities people are scared to go into is black communities. That's pure illusion. Okay? Perpetuated by the white media.
I didn't say the only.
Sir,
nobody said only.
Sir.
At the highest rate.
Sir. Let me finish, sir. Thank you, sir.
Don't make sense to go on saying the same nonsense.
Guys.
At the highest rate. At the highest rate. For you to sit up and say it's just straight nonsense.
Sir.
Hold on, but both of you. Right, because I'm listening, great conversation, but I think it's getting too personal. So, just try to be respectful, but also consider it that the other person want to talk. So don't be too long.
Right.
Just get to the point fast as you can and let CLR respond. Let CRL make his point quick as he can. But also, you guys are going to engage. So just try to make it quick. I'm sure you're saying something, CLR want to respond, and vice versa. So just be considerate of each other that both of you want to talk. Because it's a great
Okay.
conversation, but don't make it too of a shouting match. You know, to keep it positive.
All right. I just want to. I'm spending most of my time saying, "Sir, sir, sir." Let me get my point off. But it is pure illusion that the only community people are scared to go into is Black community. Pure illusion.
Yeah, it didn't
Pure
say
illusion. Sir. But that's what the white-controlled white media is pushing up. The scary Black man. Bro, there is Chinese communities people are scared to go into. Ran by the triad, ran by the Yakuza. People are scared to go into. There are Uncle Tom Hill, I mean not Uncle Tom, there are hillbilly racist white communities that people are scared to go into. Live in pure fear. Black people live in pure fear to go into there. Just certain Jewish people live in pure fear to go into there. Hispanics, pure fear to go into there. Okay? This idea that only the Black community is the scary community to go into is some white media perpetuated bullshit that you choose to believe because you're a Tom. But the reality of the matter is there's communities throughout the United States and throughout the world that people, for different reasons, fear going into. That's a fact. Okay? Now, if you say that all of the police is in the Black community, and that's where most of the police reside, then guess what? You should have less fear going in there because that's all the cops is at. Yeah, you should be able to see a cop on every damn corner. A cop will escort you through that mug. But the reality of the matter is, it's pure illusion perpetuated by the white media. And then but I'm gonna let you talk. But then I want to get into how the Black community got to the position that it is in systematically, and why Black people have been placed at a severe disadvantage, not just financially, but culturally as well. But you go ahead.
Okay, I never said all. But there are places you say hillbilly white folks. Sure, is it the norm for white people? No, that is not the norm of white people. Yes, it exists among everybody, but that's not the norm for whites. Most places where white folks live, you don't have a fear going into. Now, again, I never said all. Second of all, this idea once again is if there aren't police on every corner in a Black community, there aren't police on every corner. So there's not enough police to be on every corner. But if that's where the crime is being committed, then that's where they're gonna put the crime. And oftentimes when we talk about it again, it's the petty street crime that makes a community undesirable to live in. That's what we're talking about. That's going to be seen most often in the hoods, which is often unfortunately for Black people, it's the higher rate. There's far more hood amongst Blacks than as you can see amongst white people or any other race of people in America. I can't speak on the world. I live in America.
Okay, so sir, once again, it's not true. I'm from the hood. I don't know where you're from. I'm from the hood, and in every Black city, urban city, and community, you have certain problem areas. You come to Plainfield, you got, 6th Street, Project, 3rd Street, Clinton Ave, maybe a couple of 2nd Street, 7, 8, 10 blocks, maybe, projects, okay? All of the rest of the community is perfectly fine. You have your certain problem areas, right? But the reality of the matter is, if you use the white-controlled media and the white-controlled system to play up the Black community as if the entirety of the Black community is these certain few problem areas, then what you'll have is a misconception that exists about the Black community. But if you go, like, for example, to any Black community in America, when you go to the problem areas, 2 or 3 blocks up, it's beautiful. Houses is fine, people sleep in peace, okay? This is a small subset of society, okay, as is the hillbillies communities, as is the racist skinhead communities. These are small subsets of society, but the disconnect comes where you use these subsects of societies for the Black community to represent the entirety of their race, while you willfully hide the problematic subsets of the white community. This has been a tactic of the American government and the American media apparatus for hundreds of years, to misrepresent Black people so that they can constantly and continue to mistreat them. If I want you filling prisons, if I want to disproportionately affect you, if I want to disproportionately arrest you, then I'll go on the Richard Nixon criminalization campaign, a Ronald Reagan criminal war on drugs campaign, where I'll put all Black folks up with crack, cocaine, all Black folks up in the hood on TV to give the world this a misguided, misrepresented view of who Black people are. But if you actually look at the numbers, the vast majority of us don't sell drugs. We working, brother. The vast majority, you might talk about less than 10% of us who actually selling drugs. Young boys, some people who got felonies early, who can't really get a good job, so they out here selling drugs. But the vast majority of us got jobs. The vast majority of us are out here working, making an honest living, brother. Okay? So we can continue to try to misrepresent Black people so that we can minimalize and belittle their plight in this country and what they have been through and are going through, but you're not going to pull that small time.
Okay, you got to wrap it up. It's starting to get long-winded.
I'm ready. Go ahead, talk.
Okay, once again, I never said all. I said, unfortunately, with Black people, there's a higher rate of it. It happens amongst white people, sure, but with Black people, there's a higher rate of the destructivity. As you can say, the small pockets of areas amongst Black people seem to be bigger than other areas. So again, like I said, I didn't say all Black is this, and this represents all Black. I said it with Black people at a higher rate. So,
okay,
so you must be saying I said all. I didn't say all.
Okay, let's go on your premise. Okay, Black people committing crimes at a higher rate. Let me concede that, even though it's bullshit. But let me concede that. Okay, would you agree that poverty is one of the biggest indicators of crime?
No, poverty does not cause crime. That's bullshit.
Poverty does not cause crime.
No, poverty does not cause crime. That's a convenient assumption. There's no evidence to prove that.
Okay.
That's a convenient assumption.
So people who are put at a financial disadvantage and living and forced into abject poverty are not more likely to commit crimes, petty crimes, for money, for thieves. No.
That's a mentality.
Okay. So
that's a mentality.
All right.
No, it's not
so
poverty.
It's not poverty.
Poverty
All right. So it's not. Okay.
No,
So it's not poverty. It's not
mentality.
Poverty.
Poor mentality is caused crime, not poverty.
Poor mentality. Okay.
Poor mentality.
All right.
The poverty rates among Black people were worse than they were 180 years ago, but the crime rates wasn't as bad as the other day.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question: can poverty inadvertently cause poor mentality?
No. Poverty doesn't cause you to commit a crime. Poverty does not cause you to commit a crime.
All right. So poor mentality.
Poverty does not cause you to commit a crime.
Oh, excuse me, sir. Can white supremacy inadvertently cause a poor mentality?
Well, white supremacy is nothing but Black inferiority. That's stuff that's in your head. There's no white people walking around here.
No. Black inferiority.
That's nothing but Black inferiority. No. White supremacy is just nothing but Black inferiority. That's the stuff that you brainwash and program your stuff in your head. There's no white supremacy stopping a single Black person from doing anything in America.
Fine.
If you believe so, give me an example of it.
Okay, Tom, fine. Let me ask you a question. You said you just said that black inferiority is white supremacy, as though the root causal of white supremacy is a Black inferior mindset.
Well, no, white supremacy is a whole bunch of nonsense that's in Black people's head. That y'all keep brainwashing.
So white supremacy doesn't exist.
No, white supremacy doesn't exist. No, there's no white people around here calling themselves white being superior.
Hold on. Has it ever existed?
Yes, it doesn't exist today.
When did it stop? When did it stop? What year did white supremacy stop?
Well, I say white supremacy stopped when a Black person was able to achieve anything in this country. And a Black person can do anything.
So what year was that? So what year was that?
Hey, Focus. I just want to, suggest, just keep it a little down a little bit. You get a little hyper.
What year is it? What year? It's 2025.
What year was it that white supremacy
2025, there's no 2025. There's no white supremacy stopping a single black person doing a single thing in America. Right now we're living in 2025. Can a black black person be American doing cheating?
You said white supremacy.
So he's saying 2025 to stop. No, but he's saying 2025 to stop. He's saying this year.
Okay. So you're 40 years of age, right? What year were you held back from doing achieving anything in America?
Not the question I'm asking. We both agreed. Sir,
I answered the question. Right now we live in 2025. You can achieve anything, so do it.
Sir, let's stay on track here, okay? Let's stay on track. You said poor mentality causes crime.
Yes,
you said poverty doesn't cause. Hold on, sir. You said poverty doesn't
black
cause.
People.
Sir,
black people prove that. Black people prove that poverty doesn't cause.
Sir. You said poverty doesn't cause poor mentality.
No.
Now you're saying I asked you, does white supremacy cause a bad mentality? You think in an effort to not. Sir,
no, white supremacy doesn't cause bad mentality.
Okay. All right. Good to answer no. Because first you circumvented the question by saying white supremacy doesn't exist and it's a made-up construct. So now, it doesn't exist. Hold on. Okay. So now we're saying poverty doesn't cause poor mentality.
No.
White supremacy doesn't cause poor mentality. Hold on now. Does miseducation cause a poor mentality?
What is miseducation?
Miseducation. You know what miseducation is? Purposely and improperly educating someone, giving them a curriculum that does not benefit their mental growth, but that benefits a certain subset or mentality of subservience, if you will, a school to prison type, a pipeline type.
There is no school to prison pipeline. There is no school to prison pipeline.
Okay, fine.
A single parent household a pipeline, but not school.
A system that teaches young black kids about what? I'm on the phone. A system that teaches young black kids only about accomplishments post enduring slavery, but won't go further back to who they were prior to being slaves, right? A system that tells a whitewashed version of history that tells about every American white hero while they basically don't teach you about the black people that were behind them, like Granville T. Woods or Benjamin Banneker, George Washington Carver, or all of these people. And I'm not talking about George Washington Carver as, he created a peanut, but as him being the actual intellectual mind behind Henry Ford, and the fact that they castrated him so that he couldn't reproduce his intellect. I'm talking about that true version of history as opposed to a whitewashed version of history. I'm talking about that type of miseducation. Can miseducation create a poor mentality?
No, because that's it. Say you telling me that, and also black people learn. You got to learn that you got to be taught that George Washington Carver was castrated. So without being taught that George Washington Carver was castrated, I can't learn math. I can't learn science. I can't learn to read. No. What I'm saying is this: when you think about George Washington Carver and you say he created peanut butter and he found out different ways to do with the peanut, but you don't say that he was actually the intellectual mind behind all of Henry Ford's inventions, that you don't say that racist white people castrated him because they wanted to continue to perpetuate the belief that white people were more intelligent than black people, which is classic Darwinism, which is classic eugenics, which is classic white supremacy teaching. White people are the final evolution, the final representation of human evolution. Intellectually, they're better than everybody. Okay? That's not being taught this school. That is not being taught this school. That is not being taught this school.
When you do
that is not being taught in school. You gotta stop lying.
Bro. Exactly. I know it's not.
That is not being taught in school.
Sir.
Nobody's being told that white people are superior. Sir. White people define evolution of this. That's not being taught in school.
Focus. You gotta let them go because you're like dominating the conversation.
Nobody is
because you're dominating it. That's why.
nobody is teaching.
You talk for 5 minutes.
Nobody is teaching kids about. Nobody is teaching kids that white folks are superior and white folks are the final evolution of the aspiration of evolution. Nobody is teaching that in those schools, bro.
Okay, yeah.
Now you being ridiculous. Now you just being straight.
Okay, so focus. Now he just said. Now wait. Hey, focus. He just said nobody's teaching that. So now it's on you to, if you want to, you can respond to that and show what's being taught. If not, let's move on to something, because he just said that doesn't happen. You said it did. So you're going to address that, or we can move on and talk about,
I never said it happened. I never said that happened. But I can prove
that's what you
it's
said.
inadvertently happening. But I didn't, sir. What I said was they castrated George Washington Carver because they wanted to perpetuate the belief that white people were smarter than everybody, and they did not want him to replicate his intellectual mind. During that time,
okay. So now,
I'm not done yet, sir.
Wait.
Sir,
focus. Let him respond to that. Let him respond to that.
Hold on, real quick.
Okay. So are you saying? So you saying that?
I'm gonna let him respond real quick. Let me.
Yeah, but one point at a time. One point at a time.
Yeah, bro. Are you saying that black kids today can't learn because they castrated George Washington Carver?
That's not what I'm saying. I want to finish my point, and then therefore you won't have to ask me what I'm saying because I already said it.
Yeah, but you are actually naming more than one point because you addressed the George Washington Carver.
No, it's the same point, sir. It's the same point, sir. Now let me correlate.
But you already.
Oh,
no, but what I'm saying is like you. Okay, well, listen, bro. This is the issue. That's why he's chiming in because you are making a point. That point was done, and then you're going to add to it. But he wanted to respond to that right away because that was a point done.
My point's not done, though. It's not done.
It was done.
Let me
That's why he was going to respond.
Let me finish my point.
But you can't tell lies. Can't tell lies.
Brother, let me finish my point. My point ain't done. It's all the same thing. You tried to mischaracterize my position. Now I'm re-characterizing my position and strengthening it before I let you go. It's the same position. Okay? Now, during this time when they castrated George Washington Carver, based upon this misguided belief of Darwinism, this misguided belief that white people are smarter than everybody, or black people on the planet, eugenics was going on around this time, okay? What you had was Darwinists going around the world murdering entire indigenous populations based upon the belief that they were inferior intellectually. This is why they chopped George Washington Carver's joint off, to perpetuate that. So until you start teaching the true history of Darwinism, the true history of George Washington Carver, the true history of eugenics and white people's intellectual belief that they're intellectually superior and all the things they have done as a result, then that is miseducation, brother. And miseducation create a poor mentality. Now you go.
Okay, so you're telling me that black kids, because they're not teaching them that George Washington Carver was castrated, therefore they can't do math, they can't do science, they can't do any other learning because they haven't taught about because they weren't taught that George Washington Carver was castrated because of evolution.
Never said that.
Because Darwin believed that idea that white people were smarter and was
never said that.
Eugenics. That's what you said.
Never said that.
So how about this?
Was,
answer this for me. I will answer this for me. What's stopping black kids from being able to learn math and science today?
Hold on, sir. I'll answer that question. But first answer my question. Can miseducation cause a poor mentality?
Well, with miseducation is the question.
I just explained to you 10 different forms of miseducation.
You said that they were teaching eugenics and they didn't teach kids this history of what kids. So teaching kids that instead of teaching them that George Washington Carver created the peanut, did all this stuff with the peanut, let's teach them about they castrated them. That's going to help them, right? That's going to help black kids more. Let them know that George Washington Carver was castrated, not the fact that all the things that he did with the peanut and all the things that you did. They say he helped Ford with developing the car, the automobile. Let's teach them that they was castrated. That's going to help black people, black kids' mental state, right? Is that the miseducation you're talking about?
Sir, proper education is what I'm talking about. And if you're telling a historical point of view that only makes you look good and makes us look bad, or have our contributions pale in comparison, or you don't tell the full story of what black people offered or contributed, and they don't properly see themselves, therefore they don't properly see the potential that they have, yes, that is miseducation, and that can create a poor mentality, right or wrong.
Okay, well then, by that same logic, wouldn't it happen to white people?
Yes or no, sir? Right or wrong? Just answer the question first.
No.
Right or
no,
wrong?
Because that's not going to stop you from being. That's not going to stop you from being a learner. But what I'm saying is, you telling me you believe that every single white person that's invented something is being taught in school. Every white person who invented something, who contributed, is being taught in school. Or you believe that, bro? They can't teach all history in school, right? They can't teach about every white person who invented something.
But I'm on the same argument.
What I'm saying is, I'm making the same argument. You said that they don't teach black kids with George, everything that George Washington called.
No, sir.
And that doesn't make them feel good. So therefore, they can't learn.
No, sir. What I'm saying is this. You said black people commit a disproportionate amount of crimes, more than white folks. Then I said, if we go on that premise, let's see, I asked you varying criteria of why black people commit more crime. You said, no, it's only because of a poor mentality. I said,
yes, let me explain. Because black people were not committing mass crime back in the day.
Hold on, sir.
Your argument is false.
Sir,
let him add to his answer. Let him add to his answer. Like,
I said, does poverty create that poor mentality? You said no.
No, because black people would have been there. Black people had more. There was more poverty among black people 100 years ago than there is today. So then there should have been way more crime, way more poverty, more crime back then, but it wasn't. Look at the crime stats. The black people commit more crime today than we did back then. So this whole poverty causing crime doesn't make any sense, because if that were the case, there would be far more crime amongst black people back then. There's no evidence that poverty causing crime, as I told you, there's no evidence you got to back that up. It's a convenient assumption. There's no evidence to show that poverty causes crime or crime causes poverty. That's just a convenient assumption. It's horrible mentality, and the horrible mentality that black people develop after the destruction of the black family is what's causing the crime rate. And it has nothing to do with no George Washington Carver, has nothing to do with no school, no miseducation. You don't have to be educated to know not to commit a crime.
Sir, first of all, that answer is very disingenuous, because 100 years ago, we did not have the crime reporting we have now. We did not have the police surveillance we have now. We do not have CCTV we have now. We do not have the various penal codes we have now. We do not have
as far back as we started tracking crime. As far back as we started tracking crime, the crime was low. In 1930s, go ahead.
Sir, I heard you talk.
1930s when the FBI. Okay, good.
Sir, I heard you talk. Now let me finish. We did not have the penal codes we have now. The various apparatuses that we have now to deduce what crime is or who's committing crime didn't exist. So it's disingenuous to just say we didn't commit as much crime back then. There weren't even the crimes weren't even crimes. These things happen with the advent of modernity, that we have all these very intricate things that could be considered a crime now. So, that answer in itself is disingenuous. But the point
is not disingenuous.
It is disingenuous. The point
back as we early started tracking crime, when the FBI started tracking crime in 1930, the crime rates among the whole in the country generally were lower. But especially amongst black people. Also,
brother, as I said, you did not have the over-policing. You did not have the over-reporting. You did not have the militarization of police. You did not have the criminalization.
There is no militarization of police right now.
Sir, let me finish. You did not have a criminalization of a certain subset of society. You did not have the various penal codes you have now. You did not have the surveillance you have now. You did not have CCTV like you have now. You didn't have all these things. So of course crime was lower because it was underreported, and of course, and now it's being overreported only for a certain subset of Black society. So that does not solve
that's an assumption too.
Sir, that does not solve or even address whether poverty is an indicator for crime. That doesn't even solve it.
Where is the evidence of it? Well, where is the evidence of it? There is no evidence of it. There's no evidence of it.
You can't just say Black people 100 years ago were in poverty and they didn't commit as many crimes according to certain statistics, so therefore poverty doesn't commit crime. No, because what you're leaving out is all of the nuanced argument. What you're leaving out is all of the indicators and all of the advent of the new technology that is going to inevitably cause people to find more crime in modernity. Okay, so those two arguments aren't mutually exclusive. The reality of the matter is this: poverty is an indicator for crime, but we can get there in a moment.
It's not an indicator of crime. There's no evidence whatsoever to prove. There's no evidence.
I just want to. Come on, finish it.
Poverty does not cause crime, bro. There's no evidence. There's absolutely zero evidence to show that poverty causes crime. Zero.
All right, there's plenty of evidence, and I'll show you in a minute. But before I get there, I want to trap you. So you said poverty doesn't cause a poor mentality. White supremacy doesn't cause a poor mentality. Miseducation does not cause a poor mentality among Black people.
No.
Okay. None of that.
I can tell you what causes poor mentality.
I know what you're going to say. Not having a father.
Yeah, bad parenting. Bad
parenting. Got you. Okay. So
go ahead.
The reality is that classic conservative talking point. But the reality of the matter is, not only, even according to individuals like Thomas Sowell and Charlie Kirk and all of your great leaders, father absence was incentivized via the welfare program.
But who did it though? Who did it? I don't care. Incentivized. You did it. Stop. There's nobody incentivizing you. If you lay down and produce children out of wedlock, you did what you did it.
It was still incentivized. Excuse me, sir. Father absence was incentivized via the welfare system. So we have
but Black people still went out and participated in it. You got to do it.
Sir.
No, ain't no incentivizing. You did it. This is on Black people. And on the welfare, you had to take the welfare.
Sir.
You did not have to take welfare. Sir. You had to take personal responsibility. Black people did that.
I'm gonna let you talk.
Goddamn welfare. Ain't no damn welfare. Black people, bro. You do not have to take no welfare. You took it of your own free will. That's Black people. Not no welfare.
You done?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Now, the reality of the matter is this. When you compile FDR's Housing Act and how it left Black people in a precarious position financially, and how we weren't able to take advantage of not only that, but many other programs that were designed to create Black wealth, okay? Then you add the redlining that was done in the Black community, where we weren't allowed to participate and get business loans and home loans, and that exacerbated the problem more. Then you take the physical burning down of bustling Black communities like Wilmington, North Carolina, Rosewood, Florida, Old Philadelphia, Black Wall Street, Tulsa. You take all of these. One second. I'm on the phone. Stop yelling like that. Untie it and put it on, but stop yelling. I'm on the phone. Jesus Christ, she's screaming. Okay, so when you compile all of these factors that drove Black people into this opposite part of the spectrum when it comes to the wealth gap and not being able to participate in these programs, then you take the civil rights movement and effectively destroy the Black independent economy by giving us the illusion of inclusion after the Housing Act already firmly put segregation in place, you gave us the illusion of inclusion. Conveniently, 2 years after the Housing Act was over, all of a sudden you want to have some sort of integration, and this integration only really integrated the money and destroyed the independent Black economy, the very ideal of the independent Black economy. Then you globalized, and you took all of the factories, which were largely located in the Black community, placed there because you had free access to cheap Black labor after slavery. You globalized, and you took communities like Detroit and Camden and Plainfield, for that matter, and different ones, and you basically made them skeletons of what they used to be. They went from being bustling industrial communities to, you know, just shanty towns, for lack of a better term, okay? And you had, in the mid to late 60s, 85% of Black men employed in factories, in these factories, and then after globalization, nearly 13%, okay? So you take the financial ability away from us through the Housing Act. You take the financial ability away from us through redlining. You take away the financial bustling communities through physically burning them down. You take away the Black independent economy through the civil rights movement, okay? Then you take and you take all of that, you basically, you know, curtail all of these avenues for Black economic growth, if you will. Then you globalize and you take away the factory work that was in the Black community that employed the vast majority of black people. Then at the same time, you introduce the welfare program after you have driven us into poverty. Now you say, well, we'll give you a couple of dollars. Well, all you gotta do is this. All you gotta do is that. Hold on, I'm about to wrap it up. All you gotta do is this. All you gotta do is that. Now you want to sit back and say it was Black people. You didn't have to take welfare. But if you look at the systematic policies, program, rules, and laws that were put in place, they were strategically put there to drive us into poverty, to make welfare not only more appealing, but the only avenue for certain people.
Focus, you gotta let them respond, and that's why I didn't like the whole 5 minutes.
Go ahead, you can respond.
Dude, no. You're talking so long. You got short like a minute or two.
Bro, go, bro.
Okay. First of all, the factories weren't just in the Black communities; they were everywhere. They employed white people too. So when the factories left, white folks also left jobs too. What they did was they basically reinvented themselves. They went to school, got new skills, and learned. But with that being said, if you look at you look at the income, the gap that was closing between Black people and white people, right? But in 1960, Black men were making 52% of what white men made. In 1980, it was like 73%. So the question is, was there really all this poverty, as well as all of these towns that were shops that were burned down? Of all the towns that existed, the Black towns and stuff, how many of them were really burned down? So they burned down all the Black towns. Did they burn them all down? And Black folks are just destitute because they had nothing. Actually, that's not true at all. So, but the point.
Come on, Lisa. I'm listening, sir. Okay.
Yeah, the point that I'm making is that, you know, like I say, in 1980, Black men will be making 73% of what white men were making. So they were actually increasing, and Black men were actually making economic gains. So the question that I really have, and the thing that I have capped with, is that the idea that, you know, when people say Black men left the home so that women can get the welfare, I look at the data and the stats. I don't see where Black men were just running away from their home, because if you look at the stats, the out-of-wedlock like birth rates amongst Black people and the rate of single parent households that our fathers reached parity in the mid-80s. If Black men were just running from their homes and roles so that the women could get the welfare, it would have been carried in the 70s, not the 80s. So is the idea that black men were just walking away from their home? I don't see any evidence. So the fact that women were taking welfare, it was never based off the idea of men were leaving. It was based on the idea that they were having children out of wedlock, following the third wave feminism, which is a sexual liberation movement. And they were having children out of wedlock, and they were going on welfare and moving in housing projects. It wasn't ever an issue of men leaving their homes. That's the point that I'm making. So when you try to compound all these things, it doesn't make any sense, given the fact that in spite of all these things, black men were still making economic gains in America.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. So, first of all, third wave feminism was embraced by the government, perpetuated by the government, spread by the media, and it disproportionately affected the poor mentality of black women. It disproportionately affected the poor sexual decision-making of black women. And you compound that with Roe v. Wade, which came at the same time, which the proponents of eugenics, Procter & Gamble, Margaret Sanger, Bill Gates' father, Gunnar Renaud, and the fathers of eugenics, Francis Galton and the rest, who believe that through birth control and abortion, that they would effectively wipe black people off the face of the earth. And then they put 79%, nearly 80% of abortion facilities in walking distance from the black community, which also disproportionately affected black people, okay? So all of these bad, poor sexual decision-making apparatuses, including the abortion movement, which effectively removed the consequence of making poor sexual decisions, primarily for black people, since the majority of the abortion facilities were placed in black communities, and a lot of the third wave feminism was promoted towards black people via Angela Davis and different ones, okay? Then what you had was a disproportionately affected mentality that was driven by the system. So you said poor mentality is what created all of this, but the poor mentality was created and perpetuated by the same government that you're trying to now defend. That's first of all. Second of all, you mentioned the globalization. Come on, girls. Come on, we're out. It's here. Come on. You mentioned the globalization. And you said, well, all these communities were affected by globalization, but none were affected more than the black community. That's why you have the disparity of 85% of black men being employed in these industrial factories, and then in a small amount of years, that changed to only 13%, okay? Now, when you couple these systematic policies and programs, okay, with the fact that the advent of welfare and these different things were also disproportionately affecting us, and what you have is a mass exodus from black women relying on their men financially, relying on, which was also exacerbated by feminism and by them becoming our number one competition in the workforce. But the reliance on, it was a mass exodus from the reliance on black men to lead their households financially, mentally, et cetera. And what the government provided was an opportunity for the sisters to divorce their men and effectively marry the government. The government provided them welfare. The government provided them Section 8. The government provided them housing. The government provided them, child support, food stamps, and the rest. So what you have now is a system that was not only perpetuating father absence, but incentivizing father absence and facilitating father absence. All done by the same system now you're trying to defend. So you can negate all these systematic policies, rules, programs, and laws and strictly put the blame on Black women, but the data does not support you. What supports, the data supports me. The policy supports my position. Come on, girl.
Okay, here's the thing though. The point that you keep leaving out of all this is that Black women made the free will decision to do all those things. They didn't have to do it. They made the free will decision to do that. So I don't care what if the government put. You're telling me if the government put crack cocaine and a crack pipe in your mailbox, you gonna smoke it, or you gonna throw it away? You gotta make the free will decision to do any of that stuff. So Black women made the free will decision. I don't care what policy or what program put in place. You have to make the free will decision to participate. You made the free will decision. You got to take responsibility for that.
Okay.
That's the part that you keep leaving out. Personal responsibility. They made the free will decision to participate in. Nobody put a gun to anyone's head. I'm finished.
Now, but hold on 1 second. Now, you're talking about the responsibility Black people have to take. Does the system have to take any responsibility for their role?
No, for creating a program.
Hold on, time out. Wait a minute. So you concede the fact that these evil programs were placed, that these the crack was placed in the mailbox. You say you didn't have to.
Oh no, I say
that,
in your mailbox. Yeah, you don't have to smoke it.
Okay, all right, but you say you didn't have to smoke it, right? Okay,
yes.
So does the person who put the crack in the mailbox hold any responsibility?
Yes, but who the government didn't put crack in the Black community. Black folks bring the drugs in the Black community.
Okay, so
drug dealers bring the drugs to the Black community.
Okay, the biggest drug dealers is them though. There's factual
proof. You mean so the government is selling drugs? It's just street drugs. The government is street drugs.
1 second, let me make sure.
No, I admit that.
Hold on. Go, girl. Good afternoon, sir. How you doing? All right. I'm on my way to work right now. What?
You have the kids with you.
What?
I need it.
All right, hurry up. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, there's documented fact that the biggest drug dealers in America is the American government. Documented fact. Mm-hmm. Straight up. I'm on the podcast. I'm sorry. But you agree with me. Even my Uber driver agrees with me. All right, he white. He agrees with me every time. So there's documented fact. Okay. So this idea that the only people who were perpetuating drugs in the Black community was only the Black people is BS. Okay, it's BS. Do we hold some sort of culpability? Absolutely. However, the culpability also lies in the manufacturers, the importers, the people who went out their way to make sure that these drugs permeated our communities. Let's look at what happened.
How did they go out there by the way to do that, dude?
Let me finish. Let's look at the what happened in Afghanistan. We supposedly went to war with Afghanistan after 9/11. Afghanistan at that point became the #1 importer of opiates. It had nothing to do with Black people. Nothing. The #1 importer of opiates into our communities, into America, and communities throughout America was the military-industrial complex that was responsible for occupying Afghanistan for the better part of the last 20 years. They directly led to the opioid epidemic that exists within our country, the opioid epidemic that exists within the Black community. So now we cannot just point our finger at the people who are the victims of the opioid epidemic and discount and disregard the
a massive push by the industrial complex to push those drugs in our community and put us on drugs in the first place. We live in a drug culture. Have you ever heard of Big Pharma? Big Pharma is the biggest drug dealers on the face of the earth. They push drugs on everybody in every single subset of society. And then the minute the legal drugs run out, people resort to street drugs. You cannot get people hooked on drugs, manufacture the drugs, bring the drugs into America, proliferate drug culture, dispense the drug into the communities of America, and then sit back and point the blame only at the victim. That's incorrect. You have to acknowledge the programs, rules, laws, and policies regarding drugs that were placed into the American society to purposely get people hooked on these drugs so that big pharma and big drug dealers can profit.
Are you finished?
Hello?
Yeah, you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, now I will agree with you with Big Pharma, because Big Pharma pushes those drugs, and I don't trust Big Pharma. I don't trust them at all. Like, I think that's one. I agree one of the evil things out there. They push all these drugs at people. That is true. However, that still doesn't change the fact that Black folk, people use the opium. You still have to use the opium. You still have to make the free will decision to do it. That's yes, the pharmaceutical, or you say as the military industrial complex, they brought the drugs into the country, but black drug dealers bring it into the Black community. They go out and buy the drugs from the bigger suppliers, and they bring it to their own community, and they sell it in their own community. But again, it goes back though. You still have to make the free will decision to use opium. Nobody put a gun to anyone's head forcing you to use opium, forcing you to use anything. Now, if you want to say, I will give you this one. If people got hooked on a big pharmaceutical drugs and they run to the other drugs, I give you, like I said, I give you that one. I just don't like Big Pharma. I can't stand Big Pharma. It's off them to take an act of God for me to take any pharmaceutical drugs. For me to take it, that is. I can't speak on other people. I will give you that one.
Okay. So you just said that, and I appreciate you for conceding that point. 1 point for me. Ding, ding, ding. I'm stop. So you just said it's the Black drug dealers who pushes it to their communities. Who gives it to them?
They get it from the larger distributors, the people who bring the drugs to the company. The country,
okay.
Sneak the drugs to the country.
Do those people hold any culpability? Or do those people hold more culpability?
For bringing the drugs into the country? Yes, that's it. But you are responsible for putting drugs into your system. Nobody forces anyone to put drugs in your system. You have to do it to yourself. I don't care how much drugs is around you, how much drug is in your community. If you don't use those drugs, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, see, so the thing about drugs, specifically opioids and the harsher drugs, is that once you take them, a lot of people become hooked for life. And it's a severe struggle for them to get off of these drugs. So if you catch somebody at 15, at 14, at 13, at 16 years old, and they done tried their first drugs, 10 years old, some of these kids, 11 years old, young, impressionable youth, okay? And they get these hands on drugs, and they become addicts as a result. Are we now going to remove the culpability of the major drugs and the big farmers and the such and such, and simply point the finger at the who got hooked as a young child? The drugs affect you in ways that you couldn't even imagine. They target the dopamine centers in your brain. They infuse your blood, okay? And they make you codependent upon them. That's the way drugs work. You take it one time, especially the opioids, because the opioids now, you actually have, it's a painful withdrawal. You're throwing up, you're shaking in your bed, you got severe headaches, you're bleeding. It's a severe withdrawal to get out of the opioid addiction. So the hold that drugs have on you is intentional. And a lot of these drugs are now removed from their natural medicinal state and purposely made 10, 15, 20, 30 times more addictive. So that when we do get you to make that mistake one single time, now the profiteers' grand scheme and grand plan is able to come into effect, because now they know they got you and they got you hooked. So you can sit here and simply blame the victim, but I'm going to blame the profiteers. I'm going to blame those who are using the American people as cannon fodder. I'm going to blame those who are making billions and trillions of dollars while we're dying of opioid addiction. I'm going to blame them. That's who I'm going to attack. That's who I'm going to focus my attention on. I'm going to focus my attention on the profiteers. I'm going to focus my attention on those who made the drugs 10, 15, 20 times more addictive and targeted young youthful kids. That's who I'm going to place my blame and my ire and my my magnifying glass on. That's what I'm going to place it on. Okay? Now you can do how you want to, but the reality of the matter is you keep on trying to remove culpability from the dominant society because you have a vested interest in hating your own. And this gives you that opportunity to do so.
I don't hate my own. I don't hate anyone. I don't hate anyone. I don't hate anyone by telling people the truth they need to hear.
My man.
Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, so
take care. Okay. You too, buddy. Take care. Come on, girls. Woo. Hot. Come on.
Okay, now you say that
I'm listening.
Okay, you say that they target children. Target them how? How do they target children? And when they targeted these children, where are the parents?
First of all, the parents are targeted too. You know, the reality of the matter is you want to place so much blame on the parent and not any blame on the system, but you don't know these parents. You haven't went into these households and interviewed every parent of every troubled youth in America. You don't know them. You don't know if grandma took them to church. You don't know if their parents were ill-affected too, locked up in an unjust prison industrial scheme. Hold on. Locked up in an unjust prison industrial scheme, destroyed via the unjust medical system through via cancer or AIDS or heart disease or diabetes or all these other medical issues that are incentivized based upon the fact that, once again, big pharma in the healthcare industry, America being the only developed nation on the face of the earth without universal healthcare, which gives these big medical companies, big pharma and the rest, the incentive to make sure we live sicker and die quicker because, open this. Open this. Live sicker and die quicker for their own profit, because we're the only nation without universal health care. So you don't know if these parents were ill-affected by one of these myriad diseases that big pharma places on us to keep us sick and dead. You don't know if these parents were locked up, incarcerated. You don't know if their parents died in one of America's unjust wars, since we've been at war for 249 of the 256 years that we've been a independent country. Now we're going to war again with Iran right now. You don't know if their parents were drug addicts themselves.
who were caught by the big pharma industrial complex early, who took that drug early, and now as a result would live the troubled life themselves. You don't know if these parents were split up based upon the fact that father absence was incentivized. You don't know if these parents were one of these miseducated, poor mentality, poverty-stricken individuals. You don't know. You haven't interviewed these parents. So before we start talking about how parents that you don't know, parents that you haven't interviewed, parents that you have never spoken with, taught their kids better or not, or you don't know if their parents were one of the good ones who took their kids to church every week, beat their behinds if they didn't do their homework and tried to do better. And they still went out and acted a damn fool. Because good kids come from bad homes and bad kids come from great homes all the time. All the time, children are trying to be reared in the right direction by their parents, but the system took them. The streets took them. You don't know. But what we do know is that there's policies that exist that affect all of us disproportionately. There's programs that exist that affect all of us disproportionately. There's rules, there's laws, overt and covert, that affect all of us disproportionately. This is what we do know. But instead of talking about what we do know, you want to harbor on some mythological, misguided view of every parent in America as if you know them. You don't.
Okay, so you do all the drug companies. You interviewed all of the drug companies. Everybody who works at a drug company, you identified them and know all of those people.
Sir, yes. You
interviewed all the drug companies. You asked them
I don't need
what
to
their
interview
situation.
them, sir. All you got to do is, sir, I don't need to interview them. All I have to do is read that mission statement and see the overall influence they have on the masses of the population. See how many people they reach. See how many customers they have. See how much misinformation that they have spread. I don't need to interview them. Their mission statement is correct. Their profits are on the book. We can look at it. We can see exactly how many people are with each particular drug company on which particular drug. We can look at it. The data is there. We can look at
I don't have to interview somebody to know that they made the free will decision to do something.
I'm not talking about that.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's called free will decision. I don't have to interview any parent, any child, whoever to know they made the free will decision to do something.
Sir, you just attacked parents and said when these young kids got on drugs as young, impressionable youth in a drug society and drug culture where they can't even turn on the TV without having every other commercial be some drug they need to be on, when they can't even go to school without first time they get into any type of behavioral issue, the schools themselves are trying to place them on drugs. My daughter is 8 years old. They tried to put her on drugs last year. On drugs. Because she was in third grade coping with the new, just the new advent of third grade, which is, it's tougher educationally. And these kids now, they picking on you more. And it's not just about recess and nap time, but it's more of a tough time in school. And it disproportionately affected her. And she had like 3 or 4 crash outs where she done crashed out. And they like, yo, listen, we're going to put her on drugs. And I was like, what? I put my daughter on drugs. I gave her an old school butt whooping, and that was the end of it. She was perfect after that. Perfect after that. But they try to put her on drugs. They try to put her on drugs. And that's another thing. We also live in a society.
Yeah, because that's the first thing they do, try to put kids on drugs. Yeah.
Put the kids on drugs. That's what I'm trying to say. So we live in a drug culture, drug society. Schools putting you on drugs. The doctors putting you on drugs. Can't go 2 commercials without drugs being placed on. You got on the TV telling you to take all types of drugs, Ritalin and hypernephrine and epinephrine, all the fuck else they got drugs. Okay? Then you have peer pressure where all of the young kids out here is doing drugs. and experimenting with stuff and smoking weed at parties and all this stuff. But you don't know if these parents are out here trying to teach their kids better, do better, but they go to one damn party, try one damn drug, and then now these young impressionable youth, they got hooked, and now they're faced now with a lifetime of trying to recover from that one mistake that they made at 12 or 13 years old. Then we don't know what's going on with each individual case, but what we do know is that's all bringing in drugs wholesale, distribute them to the millions of people. What we do know is you're trying to put drugs on children in school by the masses. That's what we do know. What we do know is we went to Afghanistan to look for bin Laden, and then Afghanistan became the #1 opioid provider because of the military-industrial complex. We do know that. We know that the CIA was down in South America, in Nicaragua, Medellin, and all the rest of them, taking all of their cocaine, bringing it back to the black communities, and giving us coke and crack and the rest. We do know that. We do know that the American government. We do know that the American.
I agree with
that.
They
brought it to America.
Yeah, and black people went to them to buy the drugs to bring it to their black community. So we got to put the blame on everywhere.
Okay, all right. Blame black people, fine.
Just keep in mind, all pharmaceutical industry companies aren't bad. Just only let you know they all aren't bad.
Okay, the reality of the matter is,
but it is black folks bringing the drugs to the community. It's not the white people shipping. It's not white people who load drugs to the bag of truck. Shipping the bag of truck.
Look what you did there.
But it's black people going to them and get the drugs and bring it to the community. Look what you did there. That's
Look what you did there. Look what you did there. Now I want you to catch this, because you're a smart man, and you need to understand the timing that you're doing, brother. You just tried to.
I say black people go out to get the drugs and bring it to their community.
Sir.
The drug dealers go to where the drugs are. Sir. They buy the drugs from the distributors, and then they bring it to their community, and then they sell it in their community.
Sir, you just said all pharmaceutical companies ain't bad. I have not heard you not one time say all black people ain't bad. All black people don't do
when I say all
parents ain't bad. All parents ain't bad. No, I have not heard you say one mitigating thing to reprove black people. But yet
all black people are bad.
Okay, fine.
All
now we got you doing something. Now you're doing some right.
I'm pretty sure you're not bad either.
All right. Okay, now you're doing some right. Now we got to force you into trying to mitigate things for us, but you naturally just mitigated the white man. You mitigated Big Pharma. Oh, they all not bad. You mitigated their culpability. Well, they brought the drugs in. They brought the drugs in, but it was your choice to make and do it. You're mitigating their culpability.
It's your choice to make.
You're mitigating. It's your choice. We're talking about the schools and how they putting kids on drugs in schools. Where's the mitigating factors there, brother? You putting kids on drugs and young as 8 years old, and then when they end up with drug problems 20 years down the line, you're going to point now at my daughter and say, "Oh, it's your fault. You ain't got to take them drugs." But you're going to negate the fact that she was placed on drugs at 8. You do not know how these people got on drugs. You do not know their situations. Their parents' situations. You don't know. These kids may have had a predisposition to drug use based upon the fact that they was crack babies, based upon the fact that their mom was on dope the entirety of their pregnancy, and they were born with a genetic predisposition and pre-codependency towards these drugs. So it affected their blood in different ways when they tried it later on at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. You do not know.
But I do know that somebody made the free will decision to use it. I do know that.
Brother, and they made the
free will decision to use it.
And they made the free will decision to bring it in and mass distribute it to poor, downtrodden, poverty-stricken, mentally unstable people that they made poor, they made downtrodden, they made mentally unstable, and they made poverty-stricken. These are all direct results of programs and policies, rules and laws that are put in place to keep black people disproportionately disaffected.
It was decision.
Now
was
once they
decisions
have
that
us
made black people
in this
powerful.
position, now they have us in this position, and now they use every different chance and apparatus that they get to continue to put us on at the bottom of the diaspora. Okay?
But you're wrong. They don't have us
in
in a position. Black people, the decisions that made black people in these positions.
All right, man, we already
The
covered
decisions
that.
made by black people. There's not no system keeping no black person in no system.
All right, we already covered that, man. I'm not going back and forth with you, Mr. Tom. All right, we already covered that. We already covered that extensively.
Okay, Mr. Rahim. I'm not going back and forth. The fact is that black people make the free decisions to put themselves.
I'm proud to be Mr. Rahim. That's my father's name. He's one of the great intellectual minds of the black community. So call me that all you want, Tom.
I hope you're not telling black folks to be perpetual victims, Rahim.
We're not being victims, sir.
All you've been doing is crime. Okay, so here's what I want you to do for me right now. Tell me what the white man is stopping you from doing right now. You. Because right now I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to nobody's family. I'm not talking to nobody else. I'm talking to you. What is the white man stopping you from doing? You.
First of all, I don't have individual anecdotal conversations. I don't do that. Because at the end of the day.
So in other words, everybody else is oppression, not yours. This is normal problem blacks.
I don't have individual anecdotal conversations because
we are individual human beings. We are individual human beings that make individual decisions on a daily basis, bro. We're all individuals. We're not all a collective.
I don't have individual anecdotal conversations because my problem.
We are individual human beings that make individual decisions on a daily basis. Tell me what the white man is stopping you from doing.
I heard you, sir.
I want to hear about you. Tell me about you.
Sir, I heard you. Now, I don't have individual anecdotal conversations because I don't know
because you're not being held back. Because you're not. I didn't talk about everybody. I said you. Tell me how the white man is stopping you.
Okay, let me finish. I don't have individual anecdotal conversations because
you can't tell me how you're being individually held back. You gotta change to group collective oppression in order to be a victim. That's why.
No, sir. I have to go to group collective.
You. Because you're collective as a group.
Sir.
I asked you to tell me about you, and you still keep talking about what everybody else with the pharmaceutical industry did. You don't know about these people. I'll talk to you. Tell me about you. Tell me about you.
Sir, I don't have individual anecdotal conversations because we're not having an individual. Excuse me, sir.
We are individuals. We are individual human beings that make individual decisions. I'm talking. I heard everything you said.
I heard you.
I want to hear about you. Tell me about you. I don't want to hear about nobody else. I don't want to hear about nobody's parents, nobody's child.
Now let me respond.
Tell me about you.
I heard you, sir. Now let me respond. So I don't have individual anecdotal conversations, because this is not an individual argument. My problem is not an individual argument. If we were having an individual argument, I would take that person, I would analyze that person's life, analyze that person's upbringing, see exactly where he went wrong, and then I would determine his individual culpability in his life.
Okay, well, do that about you. Do that about you.
I do believe sir, let me finish.
Yeah, CLR, you got to let him finish. Because you asked a question and he's giving you an answer.
I do believe individually, based upon someone's anecdotal situation and upbringing, they have higher or lower culpability in the outcome of their life. I 100% believe that. Mama took you to church every damn weekend. You knew right from wrong. You still went outside to ride with them boys and shoot that young boy. Yeah, you listened to rap music and that was controlled by them and they pushed that on you. I understand that, but you had an opposite a force there. You was at church every damn weekend. You come up in the barbershop where Brother Rahim was teaching you all that good black talk, all that good talk, and you knew right from wrong, and you understood on a deep level what was right and wrong. Yes, you hold a higher culpability individually. You absolutely do. But adversely, you have people who came up and defied those odds, who grew up in the hood, who grew up in bad circumstances, whose parents weren't necessarily there to teach them the right way, but they went out and they became good individuals. Their moral compass was that of enough to make them good individuals. And yes, they should be respected for that. And we should be able to look at them as examples and say, look, he did it, you could do it. I'm down with all of that individually. But this ain't an individual conversation because no one man can rise above the status of his or her people. And if that one person was able to slip through the cracks while we watch the system put in place all of these different snares that are disaffecting the people as a whole, I'm going to talk about the snares. I'm going to talk about the collective group oppression because we're talking about the collective group numbers. What we're talking about. You talk about black people as a whole. Black people disproportionately commit more crimes. Look at the numbers. Look at the data. Black people disproportionately in jail. Look at the numbers. Get the data. We're talking about
still waiting on you.
We're talking about.
I'm still waiting on you.
We're talking about the group, sir. We're talking about the group collective.
Okay, but I'm still waiting on you.
I'm
waiting on you. Tell me I'm still waiting on you, brother. Tell me how the white man is stopping
30
you.
seconds and then you can
Let everybody come in and tell how they'll be held back. I'm talking to you right now because I'm not talking to all those other people. I'm speaking to you right now.
Collective, the group data, how the group is disproportionately affected, how the group faced globalization, how the group faced the prison industrial complex, how the group faced the mass exodus of fathers from the home, and how the group faced criminalization, how the group faced the influx of drugs in the community. And we have to now talk about the group collective and the program, rules, laws, and policies that affected each group disproportionately.
And therefore, it impacted you how? Which impacted you how? How did all that stuff impacted you?
Oh, it's affected me great dearly, but I'm not going to
stopping you from what?
I'm not going to blame anybody. Listen, sir, I was too affected, product of my environment. Okay, I too grew up. My father was a great father. He taught me well, but I also had the streets pulling at me, if you will. Okay, my block, different ones on me, peer pressure, the music that I was listening to, gangster rap, all of these, the media, the images that permeated my mind as a young black man growing up, that is prepared by the masses of the people. And guess what? I perpetuated to the masses of the people, and that did disproportionately affect me. I grew up in a good home. I still went out and sold drugs. I still went out, ran around with guns. I still went out and did all of that stuff. I did all that bullshit. But I got to a point where the lessons that my father taught me end up predominating, and then I was able to go out and succeed. I was able to go to college. I was able to get my own business, you know what I'm saying? Where I'm doing good now. I got a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, nice big house, and I'm doing good. But that does not mean that I was not affected by the state of my environment. I was affected by the state of my environment. I'm just one of the lucky ones who had enough of a good upbringing, enough of a good father, and enough of moral compass that I chose a better path, and it worked for me. All praises due to Allah, it worked out for me. But I understand that I'm the exception to the rule and not the rule. Everybody doesn't come from where I come from. Everybody didn't have a father that I had. Everybody did not have the opportunities that I had. We just didn't, okay? So as a result, I'm not now going to affect the next man and say, I think you could have did it. I'm not going to have that. Yeah. I'm going to analyze his particular situation, and I'm going to, with sympathy and empathy, deduce why he's in the position that he's in, how he got there, how much culpability he holds, if he could change it, and the rest, et cetera, et cetera. But none of these individuals...
He still made the free will decision that put him where he is, though.
Yes, and none of...
He made the free will decision.
But remember, your free will is also dictated, okay, by your circumstances, okay? Like, you can't just say, put it simply on free will. It's dictated by your circumstances. Okay.
Everybody know right from wrong, bro. You know right from wrong.
Everybody knows right. Okay, everybody knows right from wrong. But the parameters of what right and wrong is skewed, especially in the Black community. We are being force fed. We are being force fed this improper mentality, if you will, where they make left seem right and right seem left and up seem down and down seem up. People glorify and perpetuate worse things in the Black community, and that is by design. That is being forced fed upon us.
That's not by design. That's not by design. It's Black culture.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's
sir.
Black culture. That's Black culture.
It's not, sir. Black culture is fictitious. Black culture, what we have that they call Black culture, culture that they us. Black culture is not guns, drugs, and robbing. That's not Black culture. Black culture is just as much Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, and Huey P. Black culture is just as much, having family reunions and cookouts. Black culture is just as much, getting the hose out on the side and chasing the kids around the neighborhood. Black culture is just as much study sessions with the 5% Nation and the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam. Black culture is not 21 Savage. Black culture is Louis Farrakhan. They give you what Black culture is as if it's just this negative subset of society. But no, that's what they push and that's what they permeate, which is why they fly somebody like Louis Farrakhan, but promote somebody like P. Diddy. They got P. Diddy on every goddamn political platform, vote or die, having Smiley, State of the Black, 21 Savage and T.I., BET's Black Summit. All of a sudden you got Jadakiss and Jay-Z. Who the hell put these niggas up there, these white Jewish-owned companies, to act like they're the representatives of Black culture? Who put them up there? It wasn't us. We didn't sign those people. We didn't pay those people. We didn't distribute their music to the masses of Black community while simultaneously vilifying, ostracizing, and destroying all of the great Black movements. They put bullets in all your leaders, brother. Bullets. Bullets in them. And then they propped up the niggas that they comfortable with. That ain't Black culture. That is fictitious Black culture that is force-fed and pushed upon us. That's what you have to understand. And by design, we're going to take the worst subset of society and promote that and act as though Sexy Red and Megan Thee Stallion are the perfect exemplification of the modern Black woman. Bullshit. When you have Candace Owens. Bullshit. When you have what's my sister name? Kamala Ekbanobi. Bullshit. When you have Sabrina Salvati. Bullshit. You're not promoting these Black women. You're vilifying them. Candace Owens, they call her the worst anti-Semitic trash bullshit. They hate her. They drag her down. She's one of the most smartest Black women we have. I disagree with some of her politics when it comes to how she characterizes Black people, but 80% of what she says is right, and she's not being promoted. Megan Thee Stallion is being promoted. Sexy Red is being promoted. Hold on. Sexy Red is being promoted. That's who they're putting their money behind. That's who they're pushing out. It's not us doing that. They purposely are pushing out these negative ass images and stereotypes of Black women and Black people to make people like yourself say, oh, that's Black culture. That shit ain't Black culture. That ain't Black culture. My barbershop I'm sitting in, when all these Black men come in here every day and every week, and we sit here and we have deep intellectual conversations about the state of Black community. That's Black culture. I grew up in that. That's the Black culture I know. The barbershop. The Black barbershop, where you can learn and you can teach and you can have camaraderie with your fellow black men. That's the black culture I know. I don't know this new black culture white folks is pushing. While they push happy smiles and rainbows on the other side to make it seem like all things white is good and adversely all things black are negative. No, sir.
Well, who participates in it?
White people.
White people. Oh, so okay,
White
so
people.
sex rate is white.
White people participate by distributing it.
Okay, and black people participate by buying it.
White people participate by distributing it to the masses of black people.
And black people participate by buying it.
Stop trying to remove culpability of mass.
Well, if black people are the ones who are buying it, because right now black people are the ones who are affected by what you're saying. So black people have to take responsibility for what we are consuming, what we are buying. And if there's all this culture in the black community and a barbershop and all these other places, how the hell is sex rate overrides all that, all this culture that you're talking about? All the cookouts and all that. How in the world does Sexy Red and P. Diddy override all of this culture? That's all around us that we see every day.
Sir.
Supposedly that we see every day.
Sir, we don't control the media. We don't control the distribution.
You control your daily life. We don't control
the distribution, sir. We don't control the media.
You control your daily life.
We don't control the distribution companies, sir. We don't control the media. We don't control the radio. We don't control the distribution companies. We don't control Apple Music or Spotify or Tidal. We don't control that. We don't own that. The three major record companies that own 94% of all black music that is put out: Warner Brothers, Universal, Sony. They own all of it. Their number one investors are Vanguard Group and BlackRock. They own majority of it. And guess what? They're also the number one investors in private prisons. The same people that own the prisons own the music. This is why they made your music a commercial for prison and they mass distribute it to the people. You're talking about what we consume.
But yes, you're consuming it. You are consuming. You are buying all of that. You are consuming it. You are participating in it. Because without black people, they can't distribute none of this to black people. Remember, as I said, P. Diddy is not white. P. Diddy is not Jewish. Sexy Red is not white. Meg Thee Stallion is not white.
No, we're not buying it.
21 Savage is not white.
Sir,
FBD Judge, the guy, he is not white.
All the people who own them and push them is white. Sir, that's the reason you can't put pornography on Fox 5.
Why do they participate in it? They still participate in it, bro.
Sir,
they still participate in it.
Sir, let's try this again, Mr. Tom. There is a reason you cannot put pornography on Fox 5 or WB11 or ABC 7. You cannot put pornography on there. Why? Because the FCC, the American government, understands it matters. The images, the messages that you publicly disseminate to the masses of the people, it matters.
Okay, but the question, here's the question. How is it overcoming the barbershop? You just said we have all this culture. We have all this culture, the barbershops, the cookouts, all these blacks communicate with each other. How in the world does that override that?
Sir, there's a reason why.
Because this stuff you see every day. You see all that stuff every day.
There's a reason why you can't put pornography on Fox 5. Or you cannot put pornography on USA and Bravo. There's a reason why. And that's because the American government, the FCC, and the powers that be understand that it matters what messages, what images are being freely disseminated to the masses of the public. All that shit goes out the window when it comes to black people. You turn on High 97, BET, and the rest of them, they talk about young nigga move that dope. Young nigga move that dope. I don't have to buy it. It is on TV. It's on the radio.
Okay, but the other culture that you talk about is all around us every day.
It's being freely disseminated.
You say, the real culture, and you say that the real culture is is with the talk, that discussion that goes on in barbershop, the discussion that goes on at the cookouts. They see this every day all around. So they see both of them. Matter of fact, you see more of the interaction with other Black people more than you would see what the media is put before you. And then on top of that, we also have social media. There are plenty of Black people on social media. So they can take the social media and override that message. But the fact is, as you said, there's plenty of barbershop talk, plenty of Blacks who communicate with each other on a daily basis. But how does the media push override it? That doesn't make any sense.
So,
because they're surrounded by culture, but the media is supposed to override it.
sir, first of all, you're lying and making stuff up. The media has way more influence on the young impressionable mind than a person you might interact with at a barbershop once every 2 weeks when you get a haircut. Once a week if you get a haircut. Media,
but you're doing it all the time. It's not just one person. It's supposed to be everybody.
I'm listening to that, sir.
It's supposed to be all the people all the time. Not just one person at a barbershop, but with multiple person that you interact with on a daily basis.
Sir, the media has way more of an influence. You know why? Because the media influences the masses of the people. How many people? I got my barbershop, maybe 2-3 Black barbershops in this town that I'm in right now. All the young Black kids don't even come. They don't even. Some go to the Spanish barbershops. Niggas be speaking Spanish up in there. Well, all of them listen to the music and the media and the TV. They have way more of a reach because it's reaching in the masses of the people. One image, one message, one idea being pushed throughout the entire North America. Okay? So they have way more of an influence. You're telling me preaching in my barbershop is having more influence than what white folks and Jews distribute to the masses of the people via television, video, etc., etc.? It does not. It pales in comparison. But the point I'm making is those white folks and those Jews aren't perpetuating the messages that are in the barbershop. They are taking the wrong subset of society and perpetuating those messages. Everybody not selling drugs in the Black community. Everybody not robbing and stealing in the Black community. Everybody not sexy red in the Black community. Wop, wop. People who are in control choose to take that subset instead of the subset that exists in the barbershop and push that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but then the kids should be saying that every day, though.
So now
the kids should be saying that every day.
So now you think
it's not just the barbershops.
So now you think that the subset, Sexy Red, 21 Savage, etc., etc., is Black culture, which is what you do. And I'm telling you, it's not. The barbershop is Black culture. Farrakhan is Black culture. Malcolm is Black culture. Medgar Evers is Black culture. Black Panther Party, Black culture. It's Black culture that they will not push in those same media apparatuses to the masses. They will push Tariq Nasheed to the masses. He got to build his own platforms. They won't push Frances Cress Welsing to the masses. She has to build her own platform. They give you Sexy Red and put billions and millions of dollars behind protecting her image while hiding Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. They won't perpetuate her, but they are both two different subsets of Black culture. That's what I'm saying. And those who choose to take the negative subset and push that to the masses to create this idea that that's Black culture, but also to condition young impressionable youth into emulating that culture. Those people are to be held accountable and culpable for what they are doing, for the trash that they are disseminating to the masses of Black people only. You can't make a song about killing squirrels and get it distributed. You can't make a song about killing dogs and get it distributed. You can't make a song about killing fish and get it distributed. Chickens, and we eat chicken every day, but make a song about how you want to chop a chicken head off and watch the blood drain. They will never distribute it. You can't make a song about killing Jews, Christians. You can't make a song about killing Muslims, and they hate Muslims. They vilify Muslims as the most evil religion on the planet. You can't even make a song about killing them and have it distributed. But you can make 30 years worth of music about killing black folk and get it distributed by the masses and to the masses. That is a problem, brother. That is systematic racism, brother. That is racism that disproportionately affects black people, brother. That is what is being done in 2025 to hold black people down as the mass and the masses of black people down. You can't sit here and say, what in 2025? First of all, totally negating all of the programs and policies that are still put in place, or even if they aren't put in place,
that didn't stop you.
The ramifications still affect us.
That didn't stop you. No, the ramifications.
The ramifications
still
affect us. I don't have individual conversations.
But it's not okay. So okay. Well, then tell me any sector, any job, any opportunity, any career path, anything that's off limits to black people as a whole. Is there a certain occupation or sector of society that a black person can't do because they're black?
I never said that there were. I never said that there was. Is representation disproportionately against us? Yes, absolutely. Do you still have good old boy networks and nepotism and racism that still exists in these hiring practices and companies that will disproportionately affect you? Yes. Does that mean that individually a black person can't work his ass off and potentially get to a position where he can get into any particular job in America? I'm not saying that it does, but we still have certain seats in offices that we have yet to see a black man fill, including the President of the United States. Barack Obama ain't black. We still ain't seen a true black president yet.
But we don't need a true black president for anybody.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, we have not seen that yet. So, yes, there's plenty of CEO jobs, CFO jobs, administrative jobs, jobs of big companies that black people have not seen and cannot see. Brother, you talking about some black people.
Can I see based off of what? Can I see based off of what?
Based upon racism, based upon systematic racism, based upon the history of the country.
But there's no system keeping them out of anything.
How many black NFL owners you got, brother?
Bro, there's only so many NFL owners in the world, bro. How many white people? How many white people in America that would love that can afford all the NFL?
How many of them are black? How many of them are black?
That doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? Because they're not black.
You said black people can get any job. How many NFL black owners are there?
Bro, there's only 32. There's only 32 in the whole world. How many of them are
black? How many of them are black?
What relatives is that?
That
doesn't mean anything. How that doesn't mean anything?
Okay, because
how many white people with enough money to buy NFL teams have one?
Sir,
there's only 32. There's only 32 teams in the league.
Sir, the supposition that you're making when you say what black job can't black people get is that everybody in America has started at this even playing field.
There's no even playing field in capitalism. There's never going to be an even playing field. You can achieve whatever it is that you want. Do it. Stop crying and start doing it.
You are creating the supposition that black people, that everybody started at this even playing field. White people
I just said that. I just said there's no even playing field.
No, but that's the supposition. That's what you're creating when you say things like.
No, I know that's not what I'm creating.
Listen, what jobs can't black people get? What can't black people do? Stop complaining and start doing. As though the only thing holding us back is just our inability to want to do, or our laziness somehow.
There is nothing holding you back.
Hold on.
There's nothing holding you back from achieving anything.
You said yourself, there's never an even playing field in capitalism. Capitalism.
Yeah, but an even playing field doesn't mean that you can't achieve something, bro. You don't have to be on the even playing. There's never going to be
you couldn't achieve, bro. I never said you couldn't achieve.
All white people are on the same playing field.
I never said you couldn't achieve. That's not what I'm saying.
It.
But hold on. Well, there's plenty of black people achieving. There's plenty of black millionaires. Hold on, sir. There's plenty black millionaires. There's plenty black business owners. There's plenty black doctors. There's plenty black restaurant owners. There's plenty black lawyers. There's plenty black successful individuals. So all of this idea that, oh yeah, black people can achieve, black people can achieve. Does that?
Yes, so that's evidence that black folks can.
Does that negate or address the systematic things that were put in place to keep us at the bottom of diaspora as a whole?
There's no system holding you down.
Everything.
Once again, let me say, I open up the this conversation talking about black people keep living in the past and looking in the past. Everything you're talking about is in the past.
No, it's not in the past.
You are participating in holding black people back by keep perpetuating victimhood. That stuff is in the past.
Sir,
that stuff is stopping a black person today.
Spare me with the Charlie Kirk talking points. We're having a real conversation.
Okay, well, you gave me all of the black inferiority talking points.
Sir, spare me with the Thomas Sowell handbook. We're having a real conversation.
Spare me with the black inferiority talking points. All you got is nothing but black inferiority talking points.
Excuse me, sir. We're having a real conversation, not regurgitated Thomas Sowell.
And not regurgitated black victimhood nonsense.
You watched one time.
All you've done is regurgitate black victimhood nonsense, bro.
No, sir.
You want to talk about talking points, and all you got is black victimhood. The same black victimhood talking points that you've been brainwashed.
This is what you want to do. You don't possess the mental capacity to deal with me. So what you want to do is muddy the conversation.
You mean the person calling this a person in time?
You want to muddy the conversation.
That's why I said leave the personal stuff. Y'all just discussing.
You want to muddy the conversation and then revert to talking points. Like we're not muddying the conversation, then reverting to talking points. We're having real conversation here, sir. Okay, real conversation. Okay, and so the fact is, when you say certain things like what can black people do today, like you want to live in the past, like what's holding you back today, is that what you're trying to do is explain away the reason we are in the position we are, and
I know the reason we're in the position we are.
The only reason black people ended up at the bottom of the diaspora was laziness.
No, it's poor decision.
We just didn't want to work. Like we all started at this even playing field. White people got to where they at just simply because they got more ingenuity. We weren't held back systematically. There weren't programs, laws, rules, and policies put in place to curtail black growth, black economic growth, black mental growth, black moral growth, black spiritual growth. There weren't.
Okay, but you keep living through the past, though.
Push. No, I'm talking about right now. Megan Thee Stallion,
pushing it nonstop. You are pushing it nonstop by pushing black victims.
Megan Thee Stallion, Sexy Red is right now. Warner Brothers, Sony, and Universal controlling our music and pushing degradation to the masses of black society is right now. Clear Channel Broadcasting owning Hot 97 and Power 105.1 and pushing young nigga move that dope to the masses of black people is right now. I'm not talking about the past. I'm talking about right now. Okay. You can't get around that. So the fact of the matter
is, but you don't have to listen to it though. You don't have to consume none of that.
No. Keep in mind, I already covered that.
Drugs being so alive before all that.
I already covered that, brother.
All before that.
I already covered that, brother.
Gang wars and crime and stuff was all that happened before it
I already covered that.
I already
covered that, brother.
All these things was happening long before it was in the media.
First of all, sir. You say you don't have to listen to it.
Not
only did I cover that by saying it's impossible to circumvent because it's everywhere. Whether it's on social media, it's on the media, it's on TV, it's on radio. I don't have to purchase the CD for this music and imaging to be flushed to me. That's first of all. Second of all, it permeates the black community because they're only doing it to us. So I can't even walk out my door and come to a stoplight without hearing the music. I can't even walk into a black store or whatever it is without hearing the music. If I go out to a black lounge to have a drink with my wife or to have dinner with my wife, I'm hearing the music. So at the end of the day, it's being perpetuated so much, only that it's not just this some small subset of black music that you can avoid, like heavy metal is for white folks. They took heavy metal and turned it into a small subset of music that you can avoid, while they perpetuated Taylor Swift, while they perpetuated Justin Timberlake, while they, pushed all of these people to the forefront. They took rock and heavy metal and made it a subset of society that you had to go find. They did the exact opposite with black music. All of the positive, good music they pushed to the fringes of society that you got to go find it on social media somewhere. Christian rap and conscious rap. That's at the fringes of society. You got to go hopefully find some good rapper somewhere that got a message. And they pushed all the negative to the forefront. They perpetuated the Sexy Reds, the Megan Thee Stallions, the Jay-Z's, and the Jada Kiss, and whoever else. They put the nigger shit to the front and put the good messaging and good music and ballad singers to the fringes. And then they did the exact opposite with white folks.
Where is the family shit? The family shit that they see every day.
They push heavy metal to the fringes and then put all the positive, bubbly, happy Ed Sheeran and Adele, good ballad singer and good music to the forefront. You can't miss these niggas. You can't miss Adele. You can't miss Ed Sheeran. You can't miss Taylor Swift.
So let me respond to that.
Okay, so then Taylor Swift, it can only so she's a positive influence, right? Are you saying Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift is a positive influence, right? And
she's much more of a positive influence than 21 Savage, yes.
Okay, so then with that, and she's everywhere. So then would that positive influence still impact white or black folks? And no. black people listen to Adele, so black people don't listen to Taylor Swift.
No,
I've heard black people listen to Taylor Swift, especially the young females.
Sir,
young black females.
Sir, I'm a DJ. Black clubs, black parties, black weddings, black radio stations, black artists are massively segregated. Always have been. I just watched a documentary on Luther Vandross. I said it was so hard for me to break into the pop charts. He said because they wouldn't play my music on white stations. It's Luther. Luther got good messaging, good music, can sing his ass off. They refused to play his music on white stations. White music and black music is severely and supremely segregated, brother.
But you say Taylor Swift is blasted on media. It's everybody.
Black people have their own.
You have to go out your way to avoid Taylor Swift.
Brother, I'm not exactly, but you don't identify with her. So they make their own melodies, their own music, their own imaging for them, and you don't identify with it. So as a result, it doesn't resonate with you. But the beats and the music and the melodies and the artists and the genres that you can resonate with, that touches your soul as a black person, is filled with negativity, and they do that on purpose. On purpose. They do it on purpose. I listen to white music. My father made us listen to white music growing up. I understand there's some goodness over there. But the reality is they could never make music like us, which is why even from slavery on in, they had us up there with the damn violin, with the banjos and shit. We was the ones doing the tap dancing and on the table and dancing and entertaining them. They could never dance like us, sing like us, make music like us, never. They could never be Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Drake, and the rest of them. They could never do it. We got our own melodies, own music, and we are musically inclined and musically superior. That's why we created hip hop, R&B, jazz, blues, soul, rock and roll, and country. We created all the great American genres. Black folks did that. We've always been superior musically. So now the innovative sounds and tones that we as Black people are looking towards the next level of goodness, since the shit that they doing, we already conquered that 20 years ago. We invented it. 30 years ago, we've been listening to that type of music. We're done with it. We're looking for something new now. So now all of the new innovative music that is coming down the pipeline for Black people is being controlled and curtailed by the enemy. And they're using it now to push all the negative imaging and stereotypes on the masses of the people. And then they glorify it and make it look cool, purposely. So now you out here listening to this music, and now you want to go emulate it because they glorifying it, making it look cool, removing all the consequences strategically from the music, and only giving you, I get cars and jewels and clothes and girls, and then I bust my gat and I bust my gat, as if the reward for busting your gat is the cars, music, and clothes, but the real reward is prison and death. But the consequence is being removed from the messaging. That's at their behest.
Bro, that stuff has been going on in the Black community long before it got to music, bro. Everything you just said, that's been in the Black community long before it got into hip hop, in the music, in the media, long before.
Brother,
yes, it was. It existed long before that.
I'm not saying that certain things didn't exist, but things that existed in a small, marginalized subset of society is not the same as those things being now perpetuated to the masses and permeating the minds of youth. That's just the reality of the matter. You know, if you actually look at all revolutions in all countries, they all start with the youth. We're just doing we did a 3-part series on Nigeria, meaning and when we talk about Nigeria, Rwanda, and all of these different countries, guess what? It all started with the youth revolution back in the 60s. It started with the youth when we were trying to build and revolutionize.
To the youth, then right now, what Black people should be doing, if you know what the problem is, then Black people should be taking all this wealth and money. You should be controlling the distributing. You should, because white folks can't. I mean, the Jews can't stop that. And it's not white people, it's the Jews. Jews can't stop that. So you should be controlling the distributing. You should be controlling the message. So the Jews, but y'all saying it's the Jews. Love is telling the truth. It's not love. They hating something.
I just want to know if you got a white wife.
I love who?
Do you have a white wife?
No.
I just want to know, do you have
black wife.
A white wife?
I have a black wife.
All right.
I have love for everybody. I just tell the truth.
White folks. Man, white folks is the Jews.
Oh, that's not what I said. I said, look, regardless if it's white folks, Jews, whoever, you should be controlling the distributor in your own community. Because with the technology that exists today, there's nothing stopping Black people from doing that. So you can sit here and cry about what the Jews are doing, or Jews or white folks are doing, or you can do it yourself. You can control your distributing.
You must not know how capitalism works, brother. Listen, my father said it the best, and it's true. Millionaires break thousandaires, and billionaires break millionaires all the time. Why do you think 3 companies own the entirety of Black music, brother? They're not letting nobody else in it. Hold on, sir. You're talking about it's only 32 NFL.
Yes, there's only 32 NFL teams, bro.
You saying there's only 32 NFL teams, but it's only 3 major distributors. So if they won't let you in the good old boy NFL network as a Black man, because it's only 32 teams, what makes you think they're going to let you in the Universal, Sony, Warner Brothers, 3-team in a music capitalistic system? They not letting you in, brother.
They don't have to let you in. You can create your own system.
We tried.
Bro,
okay.
you can create your own distribution.
And we do. I just said there's conscious rappers out there. There's people who are independent out there. Jake Monty, different ones that I listen to. But guess what? These niggas that get zero publicity. Everything they do, they have to do on their own. And they'll never be able to reach the masses of the people that Warner Brothers and Sony and Universal could reach, because they own all the resources and hold all the cards. They hold all the artists. If they don't want you to do something, they won't have you do it. Look at what Universal just did to Drake. Drake is in the damn in contract negotiations with these guys. He's saying, I want $800 million. They said, we're going to give you $200 million. Drake said, if you don't give me my money, I'm going to go independent. They said, all right, fine. And then put Kendrick Lamar to have some BS beef with him. Then they put $100 million behind Kendrick Lamar's song, calling that man a child rapist, and a pedophile, and perpetuated this to the masses of people, and got that man 5 Grammys in a Super Bowl performance off of a song that called their own artist a child molester in the middle of contract negotiations. And now Kendrick Lamar is doing a stadium tour, and you can't tell nobody that Kendrick Lamar is not bigger than Drake. Even though Drake is way bigger than Kendrick Lamar. Got way more hits, been out here way longer. But you can't tell nobody in 2025 Kendrick Lamar is not bigger than Drake based upon this 1 year orchestrated by Universal. These motherfuckers control everything. What they say goes. They say they want to push out this type of music to the masses. They push this type of music to the masses.
Okay, but I didn't say join them. I say create your own.
We do. We have that.
Join them. I didn't say independent artists. I mean, look, create your own distribution.
We
they
do
can't stop
have
you
that.
from doing that.
Sir, you will never be able to reach the masses. Do you know how much it costs to distribute? It's nearly impossible to ever reach the levels that they reach. So even if you are a good artist and you conscious and you got a message and you organically got 2 million followers off of your own music on Instagram, which is a great feat. 2 million people to come and like you and listen to you simply because they like the messages in your music. But yeah, you ain't on High 97, you ain't on 105.1, you ain't on BET, you ain't on MTV, you barely can reach the top 10 of the billboards, you ain't on Apple Music and Spotify to any large capacity. They refuse to bring you to the Democratic National Convention, or refuse to bring you to the Black Summit, or refuse to bring you on these panels full of these signed artists, okay? They don't even acknowledge your existence. You can't even get up there with the T.I.s and the Drakes and the 21 Savages. You done did all this to build yourself organically, but the message is not something they approve of. You will never be able to remove yourself from that marginalized subset of the music industry. That's people who do it. That's people who, build these little follower groups and different things. And guess what? The niggas is marginalized. So to say people don't distribute their own, people do. But they'll never be able to truly combat the system. The system is still in control. And what they say goes. You have to understand this. You can't just keep on removing the culpability of the major players and only placing the culpability on the minority and on the victim. And the only reason we do that as a people is because we really want to remove culpability from our white loved slave masters. And we want to place it only on black people.
There are no slave masters, bro.
Yeah, you're a slave.
No, you're a slave. You're enslaved by black victimhood. You are a black victim.
Slave.
You're enslaved by black victimhood. I'm telling you to be a victor. Not to be a victim. Regardless, it sounds to me like what we need is parents. and we need to fix the black family. Because I like I said, I heard all of that, and you know what? None of that impacted me. Because I had parents. We need to fix the black community and the parents. That's where the black community downfall was, the lack of parenting. That started with
it wasn't white supremacy. It wasn't redlining. It wasn't these programs. It wasn't globalization. It wasn't militarizing the police and privatizing the prisons. It wasn't flooding our community with drugs. It wasn't the housing act that kept us out of the wealth. That I should say.
None of that caused single parent households.
None of that kept it. It was the parents that I never met.
None of that caused single parent households.
It was the parents that I never met. None of that
caused somebody to lay down and have sex with somebody else and produce a child out of wedlock.
I never met.
None of that.
It was the parents that I never met. I already explained to you how all of it correlated, but you don't want to that's on you. I'm not going back and forth.
Basically, because all you doing right now is just, like I said, living through the past, keep being victimhood of absolutely nothing. None of that stuff is stopping the black person today. So exactly what I said. You keep looking in the past instead of saying you got opportunity for you, take advantage. No, there's no housing act that caused nobody lay down and produce a kid out of wedlock.
It wasn't the housing act
that caused a black the housing act caused blacks to lay down and start producing children out of wedlock.
It wasn't miseducation.
Miseducation caused to lay down and producing children out of wedlock.
Okay, it wasn't. Yes, it did. It wasn't miseducation. It wasn't.
No, it did not.
Brother, you already just said
nobody have no sex.
Brother,
miseducation does not cause nobody to have no sex. But you're crazy.
Brother. First of all,
the housing act does not cause people to have sex.
Let me try to explain. Let me try to explain this to you again. Okay. You said sir.
None but nonsense from the past.
Sir, you said yourself that third wave feminism created this mentality of women having sexual freedom. That third wave feminism is information that was disseminated through that third wave feminism. There was education.
That black female made the free will decision to join it.
Sir, let me finish.
They made the free will decision to do it.
Sir, let me finish.
They made the free will decision to do it.
Okay. There was education that was disseminated through this third wave of feminism. Miseducation. Education that told women it was okay to be promiscuous, that it was some sort of female right to be a whore, to lay down, to not be chaste, have some sort of chastity. It was some sort of feminist right for you to have free love and free will and screw as many niggas as you wanted to and not be a virgin when you got married. And if men can have sex with a bunch of girls and not be a hoe, I should be able to have sex with a bunch of guys and not be a hoe. Sexual liberation, all of that was miseducation.
Okay, now here's the thing.
Hold on.
We know what the problem is.
Hold on. That miseducation and the dissemination of that miseducation and misinformation to the masses of the people by the media and the American government absolutely created the ability or the circumstances that women begin to lay down with more recklessly. It removed the consequences of their sexual decisions. Then you
let's deal with that one thing, bro. We know where the problem started. So we know where the problem started. We know how to fix it. That's what we should be addressing right now. Not worry about no act or no bill. We should be fixing the black family. We should be putting that shame right back, and we should be putting the shame back on those females, and we should be shaming all that bad behavior. Right. That's what we should be doing.
Okay, I get it.
That's what we should be doing. Because that's how the black community. That's how the black community fails. So if the black community failed that way, address that will fix the black family.
Understood, brother. Understood. Okay, so you compiled the third wave feminism misinformation and miseducation with the fact that Roe v. Wade came out down the line, and now women's consequences for their sexual decisions, i.e. becoming pregnant and having babies, were now removed because now they could just go flush their baby down the toilet. So it removes personal choice. Hold on. Okay, I heard you.
Personal choice.
I hear you. So you take the systematic dissemination of the information and miseducation of third wave feminism, then you add that with the systematic removal of consequences for your sexual decisions, e.g., birth control, e.g., abortion. Okay, you can be a whore, and if you get pregnant, you don't got to face no consequences for your sexual decisions. You just go fucking flush your baby down the toilet. So you remove all of that. Okay, then you exacerbate the problem.
Let's put it all back. Let's put it all back. There should be a major campaign because you're just repeating the same stuff. There should be a major campaign right now of black people saying we want shame back. We want to change. Go back on all that stuff that destroyed the black family. That's what black folks' focus should be.
Okay, so you take you take the miseducation of third wave feminism, then you add that with the removal of sexual consequences, then you exacerbate that with Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown and Sexy Red and Megan Thee Stallion pushing overt sexuality on the masses of the young women. Then when we have the product of all of that systematic conditioning to create a young black sister, we're going to sit here and say, it's your fault. It's just the parents. It's the parents. It's your fault. We're just going to disregard all the systematic things that were put in place to create this sexual promiscuous woman. That's insanity, brother.
Okay, but how about this? How about the insanity is to keep crying about the damn past. Common sense would say if you see what the problem is, fix it.
Megan Thee Stallion ain't the past. Cardi B ain't the past. Cardi B ain't the past. Cardi B ain't the past. Megan Thee Stallion ain't the past. Megan Thee Stallion ain't the past.
Yeah, yelling over each other.
Shame it. Shame that behavior.
Megan Thee Stallion ain't the past, brother.
Shame
Megan Thee Stallion
Shame
is not
that
the
behavior.
past, brother.
But Megan Thee Stallion is not stopping any black person from doing this shit. You got to make the free will decision to operate it. You have to make the free will decision to listen to that. But would that still change the fact that you should be shaming their behavior?
We do
shame a
major behavior.
There should be a major push to shame all of that.
Brother,
we don't shame it. Not nearly as much as we should. Not nearly as much as we should. You gotta be.
Brother,
we're not shaming that behavior.
Brother, we do shame the behavior. There's only a minor 2% subset of the black community that don't care if their daughter becomes a hoe. 98% of us is teaching our daughters to not become hoes. We're placing restrictions on our daughters, what they wear, how they act, where they go. That boy not coming over my house. That boy not spending no night. You're not spending the night at that boy house. We 98% of us shame hoe behavior. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about it should be a major effort to do it, a major move on the part of black people to do it.
Excuse me.
Because you're saying that this stuff is put in the media before us, so we should also put shame in the media before us. A major campaign of shame.
Brother,
we don't have that. Where?
Brother, we do. Brother.
Conservatives, baby. Conservatives do.
No, sir. Everybody does. Hood niggas do. The hood is the hood niggas tell you not to wife a hoe. That's the number one rule. There could be a hooded gun buster. He could be a drug dealing piece of shit. And the most gangliest members of the black community will tell you do not wife a hoe. That is normal black.
But the whole culture still exists. The whole culture still exists.
Sir.
Ain't the whole culture.
Sir, no, stop moving the goalposts. The whole culture.
I just said shame the behavior. That's not moving the goalposts.
You're slick, but that shit don't work over here. Now look.
That's nothing slick. I just said when I say shame the culture. That's nothing slick.
Sir. Sir, because you're beat right now. I got you. The fact of the matter is, everybody in the black community shames hoes. We tell you don't not wife hoes.
No, you say don't wife them. Don't wife them.
Hold on, sir. Yes, we tell you don't wife them because you ashamed of them. Don't wife them because they're not wifey material. We all in the black community have the consensus that hoes are no good. We all try to teach our sisters and our daughters to not be hoes. You call my mother a hoe, I might kill you. Nobody likes hoes. Nobody respects hoes. The only people pushing black wholeness, is white folks and Jews. That's it. They're trying to create more hoes through third-wave feminism, through abortion and removing the sexual responsibility or the consequences of sexual irresponsibility, and through Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. They're creating the whole shit the American government is. Black people shame hoes. Black people want no part of hoedom. We look down on hoes. We disrespect
Except for
hoes.
sleeping with them. They say don't marry them, but they still sleep around with hoes.
We tell you not to wife hoes. So this whole idea,
they're still sleeping with
this
hoes.
Whole idea
They still mess around with hoes.
This whole idea that you're making up only place blame on black people, which is what you want to do.
Because
not acknowledge reality.
Black folks' personal responsibility.
Not acknowledge reality. No, because you want to reprove your white master. But the reality
I don't give a damn. I don't have the white master. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, just deal with information, man. Now, this information. Come on, don't do that.
I don't have any masters.
Okay, so
I don't have any masters. I don't care about white folks. I don't worry about blacks. Let's deal with black people.
So,
and we need a major campaign to shame that behavior.
Brother, we do have a major campaign.
We don't have a major campaign. No, we don't.
There's
no major
it's not being promoted. Bro, it's a major consensus. It's major campaign. We do not like those. We do not white fools. We disrespect them. We do not want no parts of them. Even a hoe know she's not supposed to be a hoe. That's why she lie about her bodies. That's why the girl got whatever a girl tell you how many dudes she had sex with, you're supposed to multiply times 3, because a woman will never tell you exactly how many dudes she had sex with, because she knows that being a hoe is not cool. Nobody respects them. The only people trying to put wholeness on us is white folks and Jews. In the major record companies and media companies that they control. The only people trying to push holes on us is feminists, being backed by the American government and left wing and all the rest of them, who is pushing this feminist garbage and this sexual promiscuity on us. That's it. That's the only people trying to hold this. The people who are pushing abortion pills. That's the only people trying to push wholeness. Sexual liberation, sexual freedom movement. Only people trying to push wholeness. The pornography companies owned by white folks. The only people who are trying to push wholeness. Everybody in the black community is disdained by hoes, looks down on hoes, disrespects hoes, keeps their daughters from being hoes, their mothers, their children, their wives, and everybody else. Nobody respects hoes. Nobody pushes hoes. So stop. I'm trying to blame us for the whole push white folks pushing on us. They are pushing these whores out there as the representative of the black woman, the modern black woman. That is not the modern black woman.
But then if there's all these families that was putting into it, it wouldn't exist though.
What?
You said that all the black communities they shaming all this behavior. When and where? Because if they were, it wouldn't exist. I mean, the media would not override a major campaign. The media would not override a major campaign.
Sir, that's not true.
How is it not true?
First of all, I just named you the media. I named you the American government. I named you feminism.
And I also told you the family.
Wait. All three of these campaigns. First of all, you don't know what each family is teaching. You do not know if these families are trying to keep girls from being hoes. You don't know that.
That's what we need to be pushing for.
Stop trying to point
a major campaign.
Stop trying to point the finger at the families that you've never met. When we have clear data that shows you feminism is pushing sexual irresponsibility.
That's what I'm worried about.
Abortion is removing the consequences from sexual responsibility, and all the white and Jewish media companies and distributors are pushing holes on us.
We still take this responsibility for
we can look at that tangible data.
But you are still consuming it.
You want to ignore the tangible data.
At this point, you guys you're no longer having a conversation. You guys are talking over each other.
Yeah, look.
He's just repeating the same nonsense.
We're just going to ignore the tangible data.
I'm saying at this point, y'all just talking over each other. Like it's no longer, a discussion. Y'all just talking over each other. We should wind down just
this is
end it.
why it's down.
Yeah, because it's just
Yeah, 'cause
y'all just talking to each other, and it ain't going nowhere.
he's just gonna be a perpetual victim. That's all.
Man,
Yeah.
listen, bro.
So just one, it's one of
Listen.
it's 1:59. No, it's look, you guys been talking for like 12, 1, 2, like damn it, 3 hours. Just end it. Just
Yeah,
say to say it. You have 1 minute piece, not even long, and let's just it's okay. Like you disagreed, it's fine. But both of y'all gave enough information, But at this point, I believe I just beat the dead horse for each other.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we can close it out. As I said, I'm a firm believer in enough crying about the past. We can't do nothing about the past. Nobody has a time machine where they can go in the past and change anything. This is what we have before us. This is what we have. A black person can achieve anything in this country. So let's start doing that. Let's stop worrying about the past that we can't change, crying about stuff, acts and bills that we can't do anything about. All we can do is do about black people. I don't care about what no white people are doing. I'm focused on black people. We need to have a campaign to shame all that behavior. We need to bring shame back. If we bring shame back, it will change. Just like remember the pastor that brought the girl before the congregation because she had a child out of wedlock. We need to bring shame back. Enough victimhood. Let's start dealing with what we got before us. We need to start taking personal responsibility for our behaviors. And there's nothing that the media can do to you. And that's pretty much all I can say.
So he took a minute and a half focus, got a minute and a half closing, and we just close it out on the eve.
No, I need a 5-minute close.
5 minutes.
To repeat the same stuff.
It's like everything already been said. Like you guys.
Listen, bro. Listen. As I said before, shame still exists. There are plenty of movements that shame negative behavior. They're not getting publicity. They're not being pushed. In fact, about it, the only thing being pushed is the shameful behavior, and that is on purpose, and that is by design. They want to keep you in a perpetual state of degradation. So everything that they're comfortable with giving you is all negative. It's all designed to keep you mentally unstable and unfit so that they can continue to mistreat you, misuse you, and use you for everything and take you for everything you got. We talked about the music companies and the 3 major people who control them, and they also control the prison companies. And it's funny because black folks benefit or gain nothing based upon the content of the music. Only thing we do is benefit everybody else. The Uzi boys and the gun boys is making money. The prison boys is making money. The drug boys is making money. Molly Percocet. Molly, the Percocet boys making money. The jewelry boys is making money. We're the only ones running around with 10,000, 100 chains on. The Prada is making money. Gucci is making money. Louis Vuitton is making money. Everybody's making money off the content of black music while black people suffer, die, and go to jail. So that goes to show you that the people who are in control are the people who are using us and making money off of us, just like they've made money off of us since we came here in this country. That's not the past. It's now. We've always been a commodity. We've always been a source of revenue. We've always been a money-making tool for them, and that's what we continue to be for them. They're making money off of us in the food, in the big pharma, making money off of us in the music, making money off of the prison industrial complex, poverty industrial complex, all of that. And it's present. It's not the past. And as far as the past goes, you cannot ever understand where you're at unless you understand where you've been, and therefore you can understand where you're going. That's why you learn about U.S. History 1, U.S. History 2, social studies, world history. You learn about it in school for a reason, because those who do not know their past are doomed to repeat it again. That's a fact. The only people who are being held to a standard to not ever go against the past, to bring up the past, are black people. And it's because the same people who were in control of them in that past are in control of them till today. So they want to push the narrative, don't talk about anything that puts us in culpability, because they don't want to have to accept the fact of what they did to get you in this position you are in, and they don't want you to ever overcome that position. And the only way to overcome it is to understand the nuanced reasons how you got here. Other than that, you'll just wake up one day and think, damn, we just got here. This is just how it is. It's just how black people are, and we'll never be able to overcome. You'll only be able to overcome by understanding what put you here, and then you'll be able to understand where you're going in the future. I thank you for talking to me today, Brother Tom. I think I did an effective job of exposing your Thomish ways. I'm gonna listen back on that so I can learn even better ways
yourself,
to
bro.